It's time for Twig. This week in Google, Mike Elgin joins Stacey Higginbotham and me to talk about the Oracle-Google battle. It looks like the battle's on again to the tune of $8.8 billion. We'll compare and contrast Google's classroom strategy with Apple's and a big change in the way Google does its search index. All coming up next on Twig.
Netcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is Twit.
Bandwidth for This Week in Google is provided by Cachefly. CACHEFLY.com. This is Twig. This Week in Google, episode 450, recorded Wednesday, March 28th, 2018. I just swallowed a Pollywog. This Week in Google is brought to you by Lighthouse with 3D and AI. Lighthouse is the only camera that gets your busy life at home. Get 15% off a Lighthouse camera with promo code TWIT at light.house. And by Rocket Mortgage from Quicken Loans. Home plays a big role in your life. That's why Quicken Loans created Rocket Mortgage. It lets you apply simply and understand the entire mortgage process fully so you can be confident you're getting the right mortgage for you. Get started at rocketmortgage.com/twig. It's time for Twig This Week in Google. That lovely laugh could only be one person, Mike Elgin. From Elgin.com. He's come home to roost.
Yes, I'm here to roost.
His chickens have come home to roost.
Yeah.
Mike is, of course, the peripatetic Mike Elgin, the digital nomad, and I know your gastro nomads dinners are actually they're weeks.
They're week-long things. Yep. We got one coming up in Italy, one in France. The one in France still has an opening, so if we'd love to have everyone join us. It's going to be a week of awesomeness. That's in late June.
Gastronomad.net.
Yeah.
If you want to
get
going.
In the menu, click experiences. First sign up for the newsletter, then click experiences.
First sign up for the newsletter, then click experiences.
And so Provence, the second one there.
Oh, Provence? You're doing it in Provence?
Oh my! This is going to be the most killer thing ever. We actually I personally, Leo, tasted all the wine in Provence. And
there's a lot of it.
I woke up in a ditch, but it was like a...
There's your beautiful wife, Amira, who will be cooking for you all and cooking with you all.
The house we're staying at has a lavender field like that.
I love
right
those
there
lavender fields.
Around the house.
I love those. So, Stacey, what do you think? Stacey Higginbotham's also here. She is Stacey on IoT.com, the author of the Higginbotham Letter, which you really missed a bet by not calling it that. I'm just saying.
Did I really miss that?
I think the Higginbotham Letter, I would subscribe sight unseen to the Higginbotham Letter.
Well, I tell you what, I'll make one just for you.
Would you please? That would be great. Great to have you both. Next week, you'll be happy to know Wendy Nather is going to be joining us on the show because I think we're going to miss Jeff Jarvis for a couple of weeks in a row.
Oh, good.
Is that right, Karsten? Oh, it'll be Jeff and Wendy and Stacey.
Well, actually, then I may bow out because I'm getting the Botox done for the migraines.
Oh, and we should say this is not a cosmetic treatment because you're already perfect. But
just the way I am.
I had not heard this, but Lisa was telling me about this. You can, but they put it in your shoulders and stuff so that you don't get tense.
Doing the show has given her headaches, and so
it's 37 shots. It's along your shoulders, your neck, your head, and then 5 on your face.
So you get them, and then you don't care if you have a headache because you're such pain.
Well, they're little shots. We're going to see how it works.
Good.
We'll see. But
good luck.
My appointment is like an hour before Twig, so it's possible that I just decided everyone was like, Stacey,
take it easy. Take it easy. No, there's no need. There's no need. Relax. Enjoy the Botox high.
It's more important to schedule your dental appointments right before Twig.
Here we go.
We like that. Is this real life? This is the show where we talk about real life, really, sometimes too real. I'm sad to say Facebook, of course, as well as Google, as well as the Twitter. I'm actually bummed about this first story. I'm going to get it out of the way. Oracle, I remember it was suing Google over Java in the Android devices. And they lost in court. Oracle has now revived it. and Google may owe them $8.8 billion. The federal court, U.S. Court of Appeals for the Federal Circuit, that's the patent court out of D.C., right? That's the one that really is kind of out of sync, I think, with the rest of them. Ruled on Tuesday that Google's use of Java shortcuts. This was not, by the way, that they stole Java.
Right.
This is the API. So shortcuts isn't quite right. It's
what's the point of an API?
You can't copyright an API.
Yeah.
But this stupid court.
They're one ignorant judge away from a really disastrous ruling.
That's a good way of putting it. We're all one ignorant judge away from disaster.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, APIs are the bedrock of the modern tech economy. So having to this is really distressing.
The dispute, according to Bloomberg Technology, which could have far-reaching implications for the entire software industry, has divided Silicon Valley for years between those who develop the code that makes software steps function. I don't know. I think that's a typo. And those who develop software programs develop the code that makes software steps function. I think this is a mangled
Oracle's trying
sentence.
to milk it because, I mean, as Steve was saying on Security Now this week, the number one scenario for developers is their companies force them to use Java, but they'd really love to use Python. This
That was from Stack Overflow. There was they actually had that as one of the things that they deduced from Stack Overflow usage. I think that's true, but this isn't even
exactly
they use Java.
Exactly.
This is that they use the Java API.
Well, but it makes you kind of not trust Oracle as much as a developer. I mean,
this Bloomberg story, by the way, is so messed up. I'm sorry I even pulled it up. By using the APIs, programmers don't have to write new code from scratch. No. This guy, whoever wrote this, doesn't understand what an API is. That's a library. Sorry, Susan. I'm going to have to explain to Susan Decker what an API is. I'll explain to you all what an API is.
What's an API, Leo?
It stands for Application Programming Interface, and it's what allows you to, for instance, I'll give you a good example. Twit has an API. We decided when we redesigned our website that we would do it in two parts, that we would use Drupal, which is a very good content management system, but we'd use something called headless Drupal. You never see the Drupal. Drupal sits in the background, and we use it for all of our workflow when we create a new show and so forth. And you can get keys to our API and then interact with the database through the API. It's something we want you to do because then you can write an application. Our application was our website. The website talks to the database through our Twit API and generates a beautiful website. There's also an app, MyTwit. There's several apps now, but MyTwit's one of them that actually pulls from the API. And we prefer that because that means when you have an app that's a Twit app, even though we didn't develop it, you will always have the latest information because you query our database. That's a good thing. You publish the API. It's published. We publish it on Apiary, which is a site for APIs, so that people can use it. And the only reason we make you get a key is so that everybody doesn't scrape all our data and kill our bandwidth. But an API is supposed to be open. Mm-hmm. That's how we communicate. So copywriting an API, meaning you can't duplicate an API, is going to have a horrific chilling effect on Silicon Valley.
Right, it's as if Walmart sued Amazon because Jeff Bezos walked through the front door of a Walmart. That's essentially what this is.
Okay. So I think you guys are being maybe a bit naive or maybe a bit tech focused here. And I'm not I totally agree with all of this. However, as I said before, APIs are becoming the bedrock of kind of the economy, especially with IoT, because we're having so many devices and services talk to so many other services. So what's happening is instead of just a tech kind of layer to this, we're getting a political and business goals layer to this. And so Oracle's case isn't a technical case, it's a business case. And they're saying, hey, we don't want you to use our APIs to build a competing platform. There are a lot of people who keep their APIs private just for that reason. And so I would say that we do need some sort of legal framework around APIs, but we also need to understand that they are no longer just a bridge between services. And I think your definition is wonderful, Leo, but I just explain it to normal people like, hey, it's a bridge that lets my software talk to your software and speak kind of the same language.
But my question is, why can't Oracle use technical means to prevent Google from accessing the API?
Well, it's not that they were it's that they duplicated the API.
Right.
So if Google wants to use Java, Oracle says that's fine, but you need to license it because you're making a commercial product and you made $42 billion, according to them, $42 billion off of Android. So Google says, oh, well, then we won't use Oracle Java. We'll write our own code, but in order for it to work with Java programs, it has to support the Java API. So this is kind of like what Microsoft does with the Linux for Windows system, or Wine does. Wine does this to Microsoft to allow. So they duplicate the API so that a program that's sitting on an Android machine doesn't know that it's not talking to Java. It could be talking to Dalvik, which is some other, Java compatible. And I guess you could make the case if you're Oracle, well, they should use Java and they should license Java. But there's a long-standing tradition of companies duplicating APIs. The API by itself contains no knowledge. It's not the program.
It's like how to connect.
It's how you talk to me. It's as if
could be like the
you can't
Carter
copyright
phone
English.
Era. So this will be like the Carter phone decision for the API era. Think about it that way, because they're trying to govern how someone talks to their software. And they're saying they have a business case for wanting this to be. And technologists historically, and rightly so, are like, hey, we want this to be as open and be as generous so we can all have things work together and talk to each other and we don't have to make our lives miserable.
This has been going on for 6 years. Remember Judge Alsop, who taught himself Java? He ruled in 2012 that APIs are not copyrightable. And I think that's the correct ruling, because to do so would basically tie up. I mean, I do understand Oracle's point of view, but we need to have open APIs. We just really do. And to say you can copyright it is not. You can block somebody from using Java, but you can't block how you interact with a Java-like program. I think that's inappropriate.
Yeah, it just seems like Oracle's the wrong kind of company to be in control of all that.
Well, that's another issue. But this is a lot of this has to do with personalities, right? Google's got a lot of money. They made the circuit court even said Google made $42 billion on Android. They should give some of it to Oracle.
No. Larry Ellison already owns a Hawaiian island. He doesn't need...
Yeah, Larry's just fine. If you want, I'm going to pitch my stuff. I wrote a story on this, actually, 2 weeks ago, not on the lawsuit, but on the role of APIs and how they're expanding from pure tech to a business tool. So if you're excited about APIs, this is the story for you.
Maybe that's it. So but this is a weird case, by the way, because it changed over time because of various rulings and Oracle trying to find ways to keep it alive. So after Alsop turned it down in 2012, it went back federal circuit in 2014, reversed Alsop. Alsop found the Java APIs are copyrightable, but gave Google an out saying, this is EFF, a little more accurate, giving the possibility that Google could have a fair use defense, right? You have a fair use of a copyrighted thing. Now, that's frankly what all of the subsequent court decisions have been on. Not whether you could copyright an API. That actually was considered settled. What isn't settled is there a fair use defense against reusing the API? Google asked the Supreme Court to review it. The Supreme Court said no. The case went to district court for the fair use defense, and in 2016, a jury unanimously agreed that Google's use of Java was fair use, of the APIs was fair use. Oracle appealed again, and they appealed this time with that Washington, D.C. Federal Circuit Court, which has historically been problematic for tech companies. They've really upheld strong intellectual property rights. And this is what just happened, is they said, no, you have no fair use defense because you made $42 billion on the API. And, on that very narrow interpretation, I think that that's probably the case. How can you say it's fair use if you used it commercially and you made $42 billion?
Well, they didn't make that much money on the API, how much money did they make on the API itself? That would have to be calculated.
On the other hand, would Android have been successful if you couldn't use Java to develop for it and use the Java? You could actually have your own API. That wouldn't have been a hard thing to do. Google, in hindsight, probably should have done that.
Oh, I'm sure they wish they did now.
Yeah. $8.8 billion is a significant portion of their overall profits.
That's another island.
Congratulations, Larry.
All that money they spent developing Wave, they could have been doing rebuilding Java APIs.
Right. I don't think there is any more to this case. I think that's that. But we need a lawyer to tell us, because one would have thought it was that after the Supreme Court said no, we're not going to review it. But Oracle kept it alive somehow.
Google should pay in Bitcoin. Just a thought.
So, yeah, if you take the personalities out, it's an interesting case. Actually, you know what? Friday, This Week in Law, tune in. I'm sure Denise Howell and company will discuss it, because it isn't really about APIs, even though I feel like APIs should not be copyrightable. That is already decided. It's whether Google had a fair use defense on their use of it. Weird. So yesterday we got up early to watch Apple's Classroom event. Every once in a while, Apple does one of these, in my opinion, you guys can say I'm wrong, clunkers, where they had an opportunity to really do something important. Instead, they released an updated iPad for the same price that has a pencil support. They made a lot of hay saying how great education is, great PR, and educators love that. But fundamentally, I don't think they changed the landscape at all.
It's problematic. One of the problematic things they did was that they said, okay, if you're in the education space, you get all this iCloud storage. And I think this is problematic because the rest of us are like, wait a minute, what about me? I personally, me and my family spend $30,000 a year on Apple stuff, and they give us, and then they spam us. I mean, I'm talking about my son, his wife, and then
That's more than I spend.
And then I'm spammed mercilessly to pay for more iCloud storage, and it makes me want to quit Apple.
Yeah,
I'm so sick of being spammed every time I use an Apple device.
Google gives Classrooms unlimited storage. Apple gives them 200 gigabytes. That's new. They're going to give them 200 gigabytes per student.
But it's like, it seems like that's kind of like, okay, you see how easy that was to give people 200 gigabytes of iCloud storage? Do it for all of us. Regarding the problem with the thing that bugs me about all of this, of course, Google came out with their Chrome tablet, the Acer tablet, I guess.
The day before.
$329,
strange price, exactly the same as the iPad price.
Clearly, sort of like going after the same thing. Tablet is not ideal for a regular Chromebook is fantastic for education.
I think they did it just because they could.
Yeah.
Stacey, does your daughter use Chromebooks or iPads? I forgot.
So they use actually MacBooks at her school, but they are on Google's education platform.
Ironically, even if you use iPad, you can use Classroom, Google's Classroom. There's a really good comparison to Apple and Google. Apple has a new homework or whatever it's called toolkit, but you have to use Apple devices to use it. Google has
why would
Classroom.
you do that? Yeah,
because you're Apple. That's Apple.
But think about how disadvantaged that is for anybody who doesn't have the $30,000 a year to spread on Apple products. You can't give that to a kid and be like, "Oh, I'm sorry, can you not afford, an iPhone? You're on a crappy Android phone." Well, sucks to be you.
Quick funny story. My son pointed out when he was in, I think it was middle school. He said that they have a brand new Mac for every student in the school. I'm like, what? He's like, yeah, my friend Gary, his dad bought them all. What's Gary's last name? Wozniak. He's in Los Gatos.
Okay, so if you don't happen to go to the school where the Wozniaks live.
Exactly.
I'll give you an example. Lisa was saying this yesterday morning before we went to the event. She said, I'd like to see Apple put aside some of their vast trove of cash, a few $100 million, $500 million, to subsidize schools. If you're gonna have this expensive stuff and you really believe in education, maybe some subsidies wouldn't hurt.
Well, buy them for the teachers. What if Apple bought every single teacher
What if they just paid their taxes like a real company, and then the local districts could do what they want with it instead of having to buy Apple products? I know it's crazy.
It's crazy, but I
by the way, real companies don't pay taxes.
I believe real companies should pay taxes.
Yeah, you do, but Congress disagreed.
Yeah, but I still think that I just think that Chromebooks are just the greatest. The whole system.
I think if you're completely objective and you think about what would be best for a classroom, a $200 Chromebook that the IT department loves because they can maintain it, that's robust, has a full keyboard. You can get more expensive Chromebooks that have pens that do much of what the iPad does. You've got the Android store. You've got Chrome OS. You've got lots of curriculum. I feel like on an objective basis, a Chromebook just
and the kids can go home and log in with any device and get exactly what they were working on when they were at school using the Chromebook.
If money were unlimited, I would say buy a MacBook. That'd be better.
I don't think that would be better. Here's the thing that nobody talks about except teachers. Because I've interviewed a lot of teachers about education devices. What nobody talks about is if you have little kids walking around with Apple devices in their backpacks, they get mugged. Those things have resale value. If somebody finds out that all the kids at the school have an iPad in their backpack with a pencil, those kids are going to get mugged, and those devices are going to get stolen, right? If they're left at school, then they go home and they only have Android and Windows at school. They can't do the stuff that they were working on. The best solution is to have Chromebooks, and if you leave them at the school, it's fine because then they can log in at home. If they take them home, that's fine too because nobody mugs a kid for a Chromebook. Not a $300 Chromebook.
This was my point only. I didn't think it was muggers. I was just thinking about how destructive kids are to things.
Well, that too. And by the way, Apple, with all of its ads, shows these kids with bare naked iPads dropping watermelons and mattresses. And then the real truth comes out that Logitech is offering for schools only an $80 keyboard case that is built out of like a brick of solid rubber. Yeah. And they know that that's a problem. They know that that's a huge problem. But now tell me if this is maybe political pie in the sky. But I feel like education, especially public education, should embrace open technologies, not proprietary technologies. Should not vote with its dollar for companies, should vote with its dollar towards open. Well, that seems like what private schools, go ahead and buy whatever you want. But public schools should be open.
Not too open. I mean, you don't want kids using Linux, for God's sake.
Oh, my God.
Actually, just a little open.
Get ready for this in the age of Betsy DeVos. I'm kind of surprised to see this. The United States Department of Education has a page. Obviously, Betsy hasn't found it yet. #GoOpen, where they're saying, why use openly licensed educational resources? Oh, to increase equity, to keep content relevant and high quality, to empower teachers, to save money. Oh, all of those things. This is very contrary to the current administration, which wants, private school vouchers and really doesn't really support public education, I think, directly. But at least as little as they can. But I do think that truthfully, educators want open. Now, admittedly, open hasn't always been the best solution.
I was going to say open can be a bear to use, and you don't really want to...
Think of Moodle.
Yeah, you don't want to encumber... Kids could probably get there, but teachers, their life is really hard. I mean, God, learning new software is just no fun.
I know, I agree. No, I 100% support that, and because I see Silicon Valley all the time come into schools and give them technology, say, hey, enjoy, thanks, we got the tax break, you got the the stuff, we'll see you later. Yeah. And it never gets used because no one knows how to use it. And that's actually been a big problem with iPads. I look at the LA school department that's just suing Apple and Pearson because their iPad experiment, their tens of millions of dollars iPad experiment was a flop. Many jurisdictions, the state of Maine, not happy at all. But I agree also open. But see, maybe Google's a good solution because I think Google's solution is basically open.
Well, it doesn't. So as technologists, we have a very clear idea of what open software is, open source software is. We know what that is. But conceptually, having everything be on the public internet is another kind of open. It's not so
true.
If a school uses a
Classroom
Chromebook,
is open because you can use any hardware with it. Right?
Exactly, and so on a Chromebook,
in that sense,
you can if it's in a browser. Okay, this is the whole internet. This is available to everyone. It's like and the schools can then go ahead and pick and choose educational resources that are served through a browser, and those can be not non-proprietary.
You just described my children's IT department.
Yeah.
Or the school. That's what they do. You access all the Google services. All the software they use is through the browser, and they've got their sign-ons for various different things. That becomes the most cumbersome part is, figuring out what their password is for various options.
Well, and this is why Apple is appealing. I mean, it's appealing to us as end users. It's appealing to educators too, because its closed nature means it's easier. So one of the things Apple's going to offer is an IT. They have this new classwork framework, and they have this IT support. And the IT administrator, for instance, can issue Apple IDs to everybody in the school instantly and automatically.
Oh my God!
They're not real Apple IDs. Apple doesn't have any view into what's going on with that ID, so there's good privacy. They can be later converted to Apple IDs. That's interesting. I wonder why anyone would want to do that. But so Apple makes it is easier. It's pretty. It's clean. It's easy, and so you can see the same reason you're using an iPad. The same reason
Google
consumers
is not
embrace
hard. So Google Docs and stuff are not hard.
No, in fact, many schools are using it, aren't they?
The only reason I use a MacBook, for example, as my main device, is that there's like 2 applications that I need to use. One is a sound editing app, and the other one's like, I don't know, something else. But it's like I would be on a Chromebook in a second, and because it's easier, it's not only easier in terms of how hard it is to figure out. You have to remember that when you use a tablet that's like an iPad, every app has a different way to use it and different security things. It has to be, and then you need like a pretty robust tech support department in the school district or the school to sort of manage that. Whereas if people are using everything through a browser, you pretty much don't even need IT support. You don't need to issue IDs. You don't need to do any of that stuff. The teachers can personally manage what the resources are.
Stacey, doesn't your daughter have a Google ID that the school gave her? I know our son does.
Yeah, she has a Google ID that the school gave her, and she also has her own email address, but she and her classmates, and I can't actually email her on her school ID, which drives everyone nuts because you're like...
but that's how they keep it safe.
I get it. But she and her friends chat on it, and it's all lovely.
I understand a school administrator is going to be swayed by Apple's promise of privacy, and they're going to say, well, hey, after Facebook, we don't trust Google.
Google is just as private. They do not take... No, it's not thinking. They have a document that describes all of this. Yeah. Okay, I was like, no.
Because Megan Maroney was telling me that she had said something disparaging about Google privacy, or there was a kind of a fear about Google, and I think Google responded to that a year or so ago. But she had somebody from Google Education called her and said, no, let me tell you, it's completely, we make sure the kids' privacy, we don't want the kids' information, we make sure it's safe. And I believe that, I trust that. By the way, Facebook, if they offered an education initiative, I think I might stay away.
Yeah.
What? No Messenger for kids for you?
Facebook. You know what Facebook, by the way, was going to do? I didn't know this. A voice assistant.
Right.
And they canceled it. Or at least
they delayed it.
Postponed it. But they should cancel it.
So they deferred it, and then the information talked about how they're going to do the on-device process or the processing on the device as opposed to in the cloud, so in their servers. So I thought that was kind of an interesting twist.
So it would have a lot more horsepower than the Echo and the Google Home and all of that.
It depends on how. I mean, I think the Google Home, the Echo has a decent ARM. Is it a?
Yeah, but it doesn't do anything locally, does it?
It doesn't. It could though.
But it
could.
The
hardware is built into a lot of these.
I mean, I think the thing they're talking about is that the voice processing is done locally, and that's
the voice. Yes.
And that's nobody's going to trust Facebook. I mean, regardless of what the facts are in the device, they have worked hard to earn our distrust.
Yes,
over the years, and
they've done their best.
It's hard enough to get an Amazon device into our homes. Google and Apple devices goes down easier, I think. But man,
wait a
Facebook
minute.
piece of hardware? I don't think so.
I saw Mark Zuckerberg on the BBC a few years ago. Let me play this clip from Mark Zuckerberg and the BBC.
So who is going to own the Facebook content? The person who puts it there or you?
Oh, this media cannot be played. I'm having my usual problem with Twitter video. Here we go. Let's do that again.
Book content. The person who puts it there or you?
The person who's putting the content on Facebook always owns the information, and that's why this is such an important thing, and why Facebook is such a special service that people feel a lot of ownership over. Right? This is their information; they own it.
And you won't sell
They
it?
often want to. No, of course not. I mean, they want to share it with only a few people.
So just to be clear, you're not going to sell or share any of the information on Facebook.
Only if they say we can.
What the terms say is just, we're not going to share people's information except for with the people that they've asked for it to be shared.
By the way, that was from 2009.
Yes, you can see young,
very young,
sweaty Mark.
Still sweaty, but very young.
Yeah.
Was he lying there, or did they
I
change
think Mark
their
is
tune?
just
Here's the
naive.
lie. I'm sorry. Here's the lie. The lie is the idea that users are aware of what they are giving permission for.
So
Facebook is
he's technically saying the truth because
sure. Because
they have to give permission.
The whole business model of many companies, especially companies like Facebook, is user ignorance. That's the business model. They take advantage of users who don't know what's happening, because if they did know and they were given a clear permission, they would not approve it.
So, Stacey, is it Mark that's naive or the users that are naive?
Well, no, that is a very good point. I also think Mark has consistently, because he was so young, he was very naive with this idea that, I mean, remember when he was like, who will want privacy? No one will want privacy anymore.
Where everything's better when we're connected.
So
he also, when he was in college, he said, users are idiots because they trust me.
Right. Well, and
that's right. I forgot.
Yeah, that was the last
him,
time he said
or
anything.
was that the social network?
No, that was real.
I can no longer distinguish between Mark Zuckerberg saying creepy, awful things or the social network saying them.
Yeah.
It's terrible.
Yeah, but there's a larger issue. I mean, the whole EULA thing of almost every product, they know that nobody's going to read that stuff. They know that nobody knows what's in it. People would be outraged if they understood that when you agree to all the stuff you agree to when you buy a smartphone, you're agreeing to the notion that you don't own that smartphone.
Right. Well, and some of this has changed over time, which is worth noting, because I look at the privacy erosion in like some of my connected devices, and I'm like, oh, you punks, you just took this away from me, and I've got this thing installed in my house, and it's frustrating. So I think that's also what happened with Facebook, because remember, they're 2 steps forward on eroding privacy, and then the apology step backwards, and then 2 steps forward again. And so this is, at the time, maybe he was telling the truth. I don't remember. I've been through so many Zuckerberg privacy scandals, I no longer remember.
Silicon Valley companies often have a cult-like culture, and Facebook is especially bad in that sense. As a journalist, when you go to Facebook and you confront them with pointed questions about what they're doing, they have this glazed look in their eyes, like, we're just making the world a better place because we're connecting everybody, and that just makes everything wonderful. I don't know why you would think that there's nefarious. No. Facebook exists to make billions and billions of dollars out of giving advertisers stuff that users don't want to give up necessarily. And that's the business. And it's just like the business of Congress is, for the most part, in the conflict between the public and the powers that be, including the massive corporations. They're in the business of giving the corporations, taking stuff away from people and giving to corporations, all the while making people think that they're getting what they're being served. That's the whole business. And so if you have a super cynical view like that, you can understand Facebook a lot better. They're not trying to make the world a better place. They're trying to be the world's most rich and powerful company, and they're on their way.
If you are still of 2 minds on whether Mark is just innocent or from day one planned this. A few years ago, after the Winklevoss lawsuit, during the Winklevoss lawsuit, Mark's hard drive from Harvard was recovered, and the judge decided he did not want to see it. But then Business Insider, this is in 2010, only a year after that interview on the BBC, had sources who say they had the contents of that hard drive, And they published, the New Yorker later confirmed it, they say, and published it themselves with a few interesting instant messaging conversations.
That's where they trust me.
That's where he said they tried. That's what I did, is I was trying to find the source of this.
Yeah.
And by the way, one of the things he admits to in this exchange is that, he did screw the Winklevoss twins. Yeah. That he says, unless I F the dating site people over and quit on them right before I told them I'd have done it, he says, I don't think people would sign up for the Facebook thing if they knew it was for dating. I think people are skeptical about joining dating things too. But the guy doing the dating thing, the Winklevosses, is going to promote it pretty well. I wonder what the ideal solution is. And he goes on and on. This is kind of a smoking gun, but he also is very clear that this guy is pretty cynical.
Yeah.
pretty
and what cynical people do when necessary in order to make lots of money and have an IPO and do all the things that CEOs of big tech companies do is they have to represent themselves as having a kind of Disneyland view of the world where everything's great, it's utopian, we're trying our best, we're doing this, that, and the other thing. I actually don't think that Mark Zuckerberg is immoral or unethical. I think he's amoral and aethical, if that's a word.
Well, I want to say he's not alone. We talked about surveillance capitalism and Shoshana Zuboff last week. It's pretty clear that Facebook is the poster boy for this, but that a lot of companies are engaged in
But you recognize a pattern with Facebook where they again and again and again, I'm not talking about dozens of times, but hundreds of times over the years, they push the envelope beyond where it should go. If there's no big public outcry, they keep going. If there is, they have this whole process where they say, they sort of apologize and they sort of go through the motions to do a fix, whatever will. I've heard somebody, and I apologize to whoever said this because it was some brilliant tech journalist, I think, who said this. Might have been Stacey for all I know. Basically said they treat ethical issues like a programming problem.
Right.
Right. So
does Silicon Valley.
Yeah, less so than Facebook. I think Facebook is really the poster child. There's something about Facebook's culture where they really, really try all these things.
Right.
And, and if you look at their research.
There doesn't seem to be anybody saying, wait a minute, we probably shouldn't do that. That would be unethical.
Right. Just have a clue about what is the right thing to do and wrong thing to do. That's just a bizarre question.
Is that a lack of adult supervision, Stacey? Should Sheryl Sandberg or somebody like that be saying, boys, knock it off?
So much sexism in that whole construction there. A, girls can be amoral. B, Sheryl may still have the same amoral issues. So I
was giving her credit.
I know, but because
that's why you call it a bro culture, right? It's a bro culture. It's a bunch of guys.
Yeah, but I have met
bunch of gal. Could be a gal culture.
I'm like, there could be ladies who are also unethical.
Well, thank you for defending women. I'm sorry I besmirched them.
We could be jerks too, and make money, lots of money. I do think that, you see it in their culture and you see it in the people they hire tend to be very technologically astute. And so they're just not thinking about these things. And that's what happens when you don't have normal people to say, hey guys, or if we do this, what about that? And they'll be like, what? And you see it just in this idea of
look at
knowing
Snapchat
everybody.
with the racist filters and things like that. It's just you really wonder is there I honestly feel like it's like there's no adult supervision. Mm-hmm. Not female, but adult.
But it's not just adult supervision. Adults have these same. It is a lack of diversity, and people hammer this home.
That's
and
what I was trying to say in my imperfect fashion.
But not color, not necessarily gender, but just in terms of life experience.
People with real experience, yeah.
Well, I think the lack of diversity is in ageism. If you have some people who've been around for a few decades.
Oh, there's a ton of lack of diversity in Silicon Valley.
No, I know there is, and I tend to disagree with the reason for more diversity. If I can just have this quick aside, because I hear it talked a lot about on a lot of shows, and people often say the reason we need more diversity is that the customers are diverse, and so in order to understand minorities and women and stuff, we need minorities and women making decisions so that they don't. No, that's not the reason. That's not the reason. The reason is that there are geniuses and brilliant people in all these groups, in fact. If you look at a super non-diverse exclusionary society like Saudi Arabia, they're not very successful at things. The reason is that they exclude almost everybody in the country.
They're good at oil.
They're good at finding
things.
the oil that is under their feet. But the reason like a country like the United States is more successful is because we're more diverse.
A diverse culture.
And if we were much more diverse, we would be much more successful because you don't know where the next Grace Hopper is.
Right.
You don't know where the next...
Would you rather have a stew made with just potatoes or a stew with some beef, some carrots, some potatoes, a little bit of marjoram, some celery? I could go on, but I probably should stop.
Panda meat. I mean, it's...
But no, that makes sense.
But anyway,
I agree. The more diverse the recipe, the better the flavor.
But I do realize, I think that there is a toxic element about amorality in Silicon Valley, but I do think that there's something about the person of Mark Zuckerberg who just sees it as an abstract and largely business-related problem.
And he hired a lot of people around him that matched his world.
He drove the culture.
Yeah.
So, but that's just a guess on my part. I have no firsthand knowledge of that. I just, I think that there's a place for ethics. Somebody in the chat room said that the business is amoral. I don't think that's true.
Normally when Jeff's here, Stacey and I pile on him, but he can defend himself. But now, no Jeff, we're just all just going after him.
I can just
since he's not here, we should talk about him behind his back.
Just say,
Techno panic.
Techno panic. Yeah. Did I tell you? I just learned this. I didn't tell the folks at home. Mike has registered on Jeff's behalf
Technopanic.com.
A special domain.
That's
Technopanic.com.
That's right. I know he's going to write that book one of these days, and so
Gutenberg.
So I'm just hoping to get a free copy.
We miss you, Jeff, and I'll take it on myself to defend whatever it is Jeff defends. Google,
who knows what Jeff defends?
Now I have a hard time defending Facebook, I have to say. Yeah. Steve Gibson insulted me mightily yesterday. He said, "Finally, Leo, you're finally coming around to the privacy point of view. I've been saying this for years, and you've been always Mr. Open, share everything." I'm still kind of that way, but if somebody is seemingly maliciously taking advantage of you, you probably don't want to be in that environment.
I get the feeling as a longtime listener that you're not as he described you're a conversation maker. So you play devil's advocacy and you bring in a lot of other things and stuff like that.
But I do share pretty broadly, maybe way too broadly.
Yeah.
But that's also a hazard that comes of being on the air for, constantly.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a hazard, but it's also a privilege too.
It is a privilege.
To say, I don't share my life nearly as wildly because I am a woman.
And a woman.
And a mom.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you know what? And also, because frankly, I'm very dull. Very dull.
But we have, there's reasons we have an armed guard at the front door. There, admittedly, I don't run the same hazards you do, but it isn't completely hazard-free.
Well, yes.
There are, but I have to say, I feel, and maybe this is a pathology, but I do feel better when I'm more honest about myself. One of the things I learned really early on in broadcasting is authenticity wins and honesty wins. And so I've always kind of tried to do
you
this.
Don't conflate being honest with being private or being private with being dishonest.
I think the way
open.
Open. I think the authenticity thing, I think the first public figure who was honest and open in a way that was clearly demonstrable was Howard Stern.
Yeah. And that was huge for him.
Huge for him. And that was the whole point of his show, where he said things that people think but didn't say and nobody else on radio was saying.
I think people misunderstood him and thought he was a shock jock. By the way, Jeff Jarvis loves Howard Stern.
Right, yeah.
Thought he was a shock jock. It was shocking, but the appeal of it was that it was honest.
Right. And this is why I think the podcasting is a far superior medium. I think that with every new medium that comes out, the currency is authenticity. This is why I don't like these inauthentic NPR style podcasts as much as I like the real podcasts. No,
I'm with you.
And
you and I are alone, by the way, in this.
Yeah, I mean, one of the biggest podcasts out there is Joe Rogan. Now,
that is authentic.
That's super authentic.
That's raw.
One of the things I don't like about Joe Rogan is that they almost always have no idea what they're talking about. But they're hilarious. It's entertaining, and they're very authentic. They blurt stuff out.
Oh my God, it's like Donald Trump. He's entertaining. and he doesn't know what he's talking about.
You know what? There's a thread here.
Yeah.
I don't know if you want to pull it. Well, the sweater might evaporate, but I think that's exactly right. And I do think that's a good, if you ask people who support Trump, that is, I just read an interview with Roseanne Barr because her show is back.
Yeah, I heard that.
Roseanne's back. I want to watch it. I like Roseanne Barr, but she's a Trump supporter. And the New York Times was very affronted that she was a Trump supporter and kept hammering her on it.
Yeah.
But every time I talk to Trump supporters, and I know quite a few, and we have a lot of family members, that's what they come back to. He's honest. You know what you're getting. Yeah, he's got flaws. He's a flawed human, but he's authentic in a way that politicians have never been.
But he points out the difference between authenticity and truthfulness. He's very dishonest, but he's very authentic. Like he's authentically dishonest.
That's an interesting one.
It's like magically delicious, but it's the political version of that.
It's very refreshing.
Yeah.
He is kind of like Joe Rogan, though, isn't he?
Yeah.
That's interesting.
And he's a trial balloon pilot. He says stuff as fact just to see what happens or see,
When you're, I have some sympathy because when you're constantly on the air and have to talk and say things, you have to eventually, you hit the end of things you could have reasonably thought about and have a reasoned opinion about, and pretty soon you have to just say stuff off the top of your head. You've noticed that, Stacey?
I have. You know what? I do it when I write things. Sometimes I'm like, hey, I've been thinking about this, but then I research a bunch of stuff, and then I'm like, tell me more, guys.
That's the discipline of writing.
That's true. It's very different. Like I notice that when I don't write about the things that I'm talking about, it's much worse.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's true for me too, which is why I hate writing so much.
Oh.
It's so hard. It's hard work. It's so much easier just to blather.
But then you know what you're actually talking about.
No,
it's so exciting.
I find writing much easier than podcasting is really hard. It just
I
looks
am
easy.
a good blatherer.
You can blather with
You've got the gift of gab.
The gift
there
of
you
gab.
go.
Did I tell you I've kissed the Blarney Stone? I have. I have. Google to expand. This is interesting. Again, this is a little bit before Apple's announcement. They announced that they were going to expand Google's classroom software, which to everybody I've talked to so far is widely agreed to be very good, to outside the classroom. They're going to make it available as part of the G Suite. Now, I haven't used Classroom. Stacey, have you used it in conjunction with your daughter?
What is Classroom exactly?
Oh, maybe you haven't.
I never know if I
Yeah, Megan's daughter or sons use it.
No, we use a different. We use this crazy.
There's Blackboard. There's Moodle, which was the original open source.
Join Our Class.
Oh yeah. That's an analog to Classroom.
Okay.
So it's cloud-based software that lets teachers create classes, make assignments, communicate with students, collaborate with students. It's on the Google Cloud. It uses the G-Docs, the document suite, and Gmail and Calendar. It's obviously,
Oh, no, she does have that. Yes.
Okay.
Sorry. Yes.
Yeah.
I'm now recalling I'm not that involved as a parent.
So I would be very interested in using this. This would be their alternative to solutions from Facebook Work, right?
Yeah.
I wonder if anybody's using Facebook Work still.
You could use it to give your staff homework assignments. And that'd be great. Or
I give Kevin homework all the time. I'm like,
Workday, which is my my employer. I have a job too, Premier uses Workday, which I really don't like it at all.
Yeah.
Amazon Web Services. I mean, there's other solutions, so that'd be interesting to see Google expanding that. I don't know. We use G Suite. We might look at it.
I just worry that they see that as a bucket that they just throw everything into.
That's Google right there in a nutshell.
Just specialize on that stuff.
Ixel is in our chat room, and he works for a company that does a solution called Canvas. LMS, I guess, is the category. Learning Management System. Yeah.
Oh.
And he says now there's an open standard which Canvas adheres to, which is interesting. So, Ixel, I'm glad you're in the chat room today. We should get you on to talk about this. Are you a developer for Canvas, or what do you do for Ixel? Ixel. And is this your picture?
It's like, are you a real person?
Yes, he's the one with blue eyes. Oh, they all have blue eyes.
Oh, they all have blue eyes.
That's a little creepy.
Whoa, that's Stepford. Wow.
And they're all blonde, except for the bald guy.
That looks like Woody Harrelson, the bald guy.
Oh, it does. Like Woody Harrelson. Woody Harrelson works for Canvas.
Yeah.
He's a community specialist, which means, Ixel, you would be a good authority for us because you deal with educators. He says this is the number 2. What's number 1? Blackboard? I'm aware of Blackboard. I've seen a lot of these, actually. Anyway, enough education.
That's because schools have a lot of money to spend, even though you don't think about it. And
in aggregate, sure.
Yeah. Well, that's what I'm.
Yeah. Yeah.
Individually, not so much.
$15 a student a day. It starts to add up after a while.
That's right.
Yeah. Google is now taking steps against a vast number of Android devices that don't use Google services. This is from XDA developers. Unlicensed devices, you can get you're not even allowed to call it Android. If Amazon's stuff is Android, but you can't call it Android. But many, apparently, especially the developing world, many phones come with Android, not called Android on it, and then you download a side load of Google services, which puts the Play Store on there, and then suddenly you have something you really want. Google's now starting to say, device not certified by Google, and we're not going to, users who purchase the device manager has preloaded Google apps and services without certification for Google. Contact the manufacturer and ask for a certified device. And if you're an unlicensed manufacturer, you need a license to distribute Google apps and services.
So I understand that there are approximately 1,000 companies that make smartphones, and almost all of them are in China. And so this is an issue for China almost exclusively.
And Google doesn't do business in China, right? Didn't they pull out?
I think they pulled back in slightly. It's a mixed bag, I think. I'm not really sure what their that's a good question. I should look into that. What's happening with Google?
Ron Amadio at Ars Technica says we once imported a Xiaomi Redmi 3 smartphone from China to review. On booting up, we were surprised to find it came with the Google apps pre-installed because Google does not install Google apps on Chinese devices. After we posted the review, Xiaomi contacted us with some very scary news. The Redmi 3 should not come with Google Play pre-installed because it is a China-only product. It's very likely the Play Store you saw was pre-installed by the importer or seller. Wow. This is a common practice with unauthorized importers. So another thing to be aware of. And this would actually impact you if you got one of these phones. You thought you were using Android, and suddenly you got that announcement and you couldn't use the preloaded stuff.
And I think this is the constituency here is the authorized phone makers.
Right.
Because they
pay money.
They're sick and tired of having to compete with.
Well, and there's also a security component to this, right? I mean,
yeah.
So it's not like this is just pay me more money. This is also like if your users think you're getting real Android and you're not, then what are they getting? How'd they get there?
Where'd it come from? And what is it?
So,
I mean,
I just wanted to give the motivation here behind all this because, it's the why in the 5 W's.
Let's take a little break. Jeff Jarvis not with us, but we are doing our best to defend us against techno panic.
We are not doing our best.
I'm techno panicking right now.
I'm like, we've got the techno cynic over here, and then I'm like, oh, maybe it's not so bad.
That's Stacey Higginbotham, Stacey on IoT.com. Don't forget to subscribe to the newsletter too. At GigaStacey on Twitter. Mike Elgin is Mike Elgin on the Twitter, elgin.com, and don't forget gastronomad.net. And there's still room for 2. It's a couple.
In Provence, a couple. Yeah,
it's a couple. God, I wish I could go.
We'll send you a bottle of wine. Or a barrel.
Well, we like kind of the more northern, like Côte d'Arones and the Bordeaux's and the Burgundies.
Yeah,
I can't remember what I was drinking in Provence.
This is a long. Well, it's the funny thing is this is why we cherry pick because they're
good wines.
So they're the radically traditional ones, and then they're the sort of like the here's to the crazy ones type of wine.
Oh, that's the stuff Van Gogh drank.
Right, exactly. Yeah. Yes, exactly.
Okay.
It's a great region. It's a great region for wine.
The crazy. We insisted when we were in Arles, I guess it was. The cafe that he painted, the night cafe, is still there, and they painted it a bright yellow to look like the night cafe, but it's still there. And our guide said, "You can go there, don't eat."
Yeah.
So we went. We had a cup of coffee there because I wanted to sit at the night cafe where Vincent van Gogh painted and sat many times. And then we went to the asylum a little farther north where he was incarcerated and later died. And it was very moving. Yeah, I'm a huge fan of his work, and it was really interesting to follow in his
genius
footsteps.
Beyond understanding. One of the things that I get a kick out is when we go to Paris, it's like, oh, Hemingway used to drink here with his buddies and all this stuff. And I'm like, you know what? Now it's a tourist trap. Because gastronomic experiences, you will live like Hemingway for a week. Right. You won't go to the place where, and elbow your way through all the tourists where he once was there.
I still do that. Like when we were in Venice, I went to the Hotel Cipriani and I had to have a Hemingway daiquiri. I mean, you kind of have to do that.
Kind of. Right? I'm a huge Movable Feast fan.
Me too. Hey, when you move, I know you take a Ring doorbell with you. You might want to take this with you. This is our newest sponsor. It's called Lighthouse. And this is the camera for inside the house. Yeah. Now, I know that a lot of people, and I'll include my wife in this, do not like the idea of a camera monitoring them while they're walking around in the house. And that's one of the reasons we love the Lighthouse. She loves the Lighthouse in our house because it's smart. Not just a camera, it's got a 3D sensor. It uses time-of-flight LiDAR to actually map the indoors where you are. It sees the difference between people and pets, inanimate objects. It does face recognition. It's the only camera that understands that life is more than just a bunch of motion alerts. If you wouldn't, I mean, really, truthfully, we actually had a camera, and I took it out, partly because Lisa said I don't want it on. She could see the blinking light, but also because I was getting alerts. I mentioned this before. We had a birthday party, and we had some Mylar balloons left over, and it kept thinking there were people in the house. It was just dumb Mylar balloons. Lighthouse is not fooled by Mylar balloons or anything else. And when we get home, we've set it up, and it's very smart this way. When it sees Lisa or me come home, it turns off the camera, so our privacy is respected. You control the camera, turn it on and off whenever you want, or it'll turn itself off because it has AI. And strong encryption for all your data, of course. Here's the cool thing. There's no other camera like the Lighthouse. It can say, I know you, I know you, I know you, but when I see this person in your house, I'm going to let you know. And you set this all up. It will then send you an image with the person outlined. It knows pets. And it has an AI query language. It's very powerful. Show me when the kids got home after 3 o'clock. And it knows. You can the kids can wave at it. See this? They can wave at it, and the Lighthouse will ping me, and we can have a conversation because the Lighthouse not only has the cameras, it has a speaker, it has a microphone in it, so we can talk to one another. So even if you have a younger child that wants to say hi to mommy or daddy, they can do that. You can say, if you don't see the kids by 5 p.m. on weekdays, let me know. If you do see the kids home before school, let me know. If you see the dog by itself in the living room, let me know. If you don't see the dog after 3 p.m., let me know. And on and on and on. This is incredibly sophisticated. Lighthouse uses AI to notify you only when something important happens. And you get to say what's important and what's not important. No more false alerts because of shadows or pets or Mylar balloons. Go to light.house to learn more, and if you use the promo code TWIT, you'll get 15% off your Lighthouse camera, and early customers get 90 days of AI service at no cost. This was, for a long time, a very limited edition. We had some just for our viewers. Now it is available for sale, $299 for the camera. We have several, and just $10 a month for the AI service that powers Lighthouse. And as I said, 15% off if you go to light.house right now and use the offer code TWIT. 15% off plus early customers, and you'd be an early customer, get 90 days of AI service at no cost. A very mature product, by the way. We got it before it was even out, and it was in pre-production, and it blew my mind. One of the scientists was a winner of the DARPA Grand Challenge. You know, that's where they had the cars that drove themselves across the country and stuff like that. Very smart AI, guys. Light.house. Stacey was the one who told me to get this, actually, now that I remember it.
I definitely have to get one of those for my travels because, I mean, we're living in somebody else's house.
Yeah.
And who knows who's got the keys.
That's a great idea.
You know what I mean? It's like, I totally need one of those. It's fantastic.
I love it. I'd give you this one, but it's mine. It's mine.
I would tell it to track. I want to keep track of all the balloons. Mylar, not Mylar. I want to know what's happening
with the house. Tell me.
I'm afraid to come over to your house because your old camera would think I was some gas bag, like a Mylar balloon. And
you can actually say, if a pet enters the house, it's not one of ours.
Wow. So if a raccoon comes in through the doggy door.
Bingo. Which does happen. We used it because we have a cat that's gone feral. I mentioned this before.
Yeah.
Hamilton, which is interesting because in the play Hamilton, they talk about George Washington's wife having a feral cat named Hamilton. We shouldn't have named our cat Hamilton because he went wild. He went feral. He said, that name, it's humiliating. I'm out of here. And we thought, well, we were very worried because we hadn't seen him in a week. And then Lisa looked at the tape, and he comes in right after we leave for work.
Wow.
He eats, he naps.
He likes the house. He just doesn't like you.
He doesn't like us.
Unbelievable.
And then he leaves before we get home, and we have timestamps. It's like, dude, you're busted. He doesn't understand it when I say that.
That's hilarious.
Google has changed its search to favor mobile indexing. This is really kind of a measure of how the world has changed.
Yep.
The company for a long time did only desktop sites.
Yep.
They started experimenting November 2016 with even having an index at all of mobile. And now mobile first.
You know, this is very much the trend. I wrote a column, I think, like a year ago or something like that, talking about the desktop-geddon. Because with each passing month, the desktop web gets worse or gets worse in comparison to the mobile web. There are lots of apps that ship where they don't even bother to do a desktop version. There are lots of things that you can do in mobile that you can't do on the desktop. And I think on the whole, the balance of power, including AMP, for example, the mobile web is clearly better than the desktop web now. And this just makes that even more of a phenomenon.
Yeah, the app experience. I was going to say, like, most of my devices come with, none of them can run on a browser. They're all app based.
Oh, isn't that interesting? All the IoT stuff, isn't it? You're right.
Like there are very few. I mean, there are a couple.
They don't even bother.
They don't. Yeah, there's nothing there for them.
Right. I never thought.
Well, and that makes sense because you're by a device. You're like setting something up. You know, you're going to be on your phone and just deal with it.
Right. And there are a lot of services that do have a website and they do have mobile apps and they roll out new features, but this is only for the mobile apps. The desktop version doesn't have the feature. Lots and lots of examples of that. So it's a mobile-first world, and I'm just looking forward to the day when Apple's laptops run iOS, and all the so-called desktop stuff runs mobile operating systems. That'll be a good day.
Now, Stacey, is it an example of the bro culture, or is it an example of the Austin culture that Google's research team calls their speech systems the Tron?
I don't know.
I'm going to go with Austin.
I'm like, Austin?
Well, you were the one who told me about breakfast tacos. The Tron is apparently, this is a blog post from yesterday from Google's research team about more natural voices. They've been working on this for a while, right?
This is really interesting and scary.
Yeah.
You want to hear some?
Yeah.
I think it's great. I don't think it's scary at all.
So I remember in the early days of speech synthesis, you're old enough to remember this too. You would, if you wrote, because I mean, we've had speech synthesis for 30 years, a long time. Yeah. You could write, when you wrote the text, you could write in pauses, you could write in inflections. You would actually, when you were writing speech, tell it how to say it. It still sounded crappy and like a robot, but at least it would go up at the end of questions, and it would pause with commas and stuff. So the idea is they now want to do this independent of phonetic information and idiosyncratic speaker traits. They stress, intonation, and timing, and they're doing this with an inference engine. So it isn't the way it's written. They're actually, well, it's not understanding, but they're getting a lot closer to understanding what they're saying. So here is...
Well, it understands how most people say those phrases together most of the time.
Yeah, but not based on the question mark or the commas, but really based on the content.
Word.
Yeah. So
based on what words appear next to each other.
Here's an Australian version.
Is that Utah travel agency?
So there's a difference between is that Utah Travel Agency or is that, we understand that that's.
Is that Utah Travel Agency?
That sounds.
Is that Utah Travel Agency?
So that's without prosody, which is what they're calling this. That's how right now the Google Home would say it.
Is that Utah Travel Agency?
And you've had that experience where it's just a little clunky. Maybe you don't even know why when Google Home says that. This is with prosody.
Is that Utah Travel Agency?
I'm not sure what that's supposed to mean.
Is that Utah Travel Agency?
Did they just put nonsense words in there?
Let's try this one. Here is without prosody or prosody.
For the last time in his life, he had been handily embarrassed.
That sounds pretty good. Let's see if they do some prosody.
For the last time in his life, he had been handily embarrassed.
That's much
better.
It doesn't sound particularly American.
That's a robot? Holy cow.
Yeah, that was much better.
So this is the without.
For the last time in his life, he had been handily embarrassed.
By the way, the voice is very good.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But it's a little weird because it's
too consistent. It's too mono.
For the last time in his life, he had been handily embarrassed.
That sounds like a human.
That's fantastic.
That's an Audible book reader.
Yeah.
That sounds like a human doing like a 7th grade play.
Okay. It's not perfect. It's not
No,
you're right.
Just like,
I know.
That's your best dramatic friend right there. That's like.
Yeah.
It sounds like a British actor trying to do
For the last
it
time
does.
in his life.
So
Okay.
I say this is scary because the more naturalistic fake things we have out there, the harder it gets to tell real from manufactured. And so I think this is cool. Do not get me wrong. But
it's going to be
also
nice. To have better voices in our lives and stuff like that. But I actually think, I've been thinking a lot about this lately. I think we need to start thinking about how we teach children to interact with machines. There's a turtle robot that came out, and its sole function, I'll come up with the name of it in a sec, but its sole function is to teach kids how to be nice to robots. So basically, it's this robot. And
kids should not be nice to robots.
Well,
they're robots.
They should be nice to robots.
Should they be nice to toasters?
They should be nice to robots, but not because the robots have their feelings hurt. Because this is what it teaches it. The turtle gets upset and it withdraws into its shell if you're mean to it. If you're nice to it, it
no,
acts
it's a machine. Why are
it's somebody's property? That's why you shouldn't. You know.
Lord, this is a slippery slope.
Yeah, so I think we should teach kids to not think that because something talks really well, it's got a human mind in it. Yeah,
that's going to be hard to do because we're hardwired.
Right.
I was about to say that is like what we do as people.
Yeah.
Yes, it is.
All right. Let's see. Prosody transfer from unseen speakers onto a single speaker model. This is from the paper itself. Audio samples from towards end-to-end prosody transfer for expressive speech synthesis with Tron.
That's a great name.
The page contains, I know, a set of audio samples in support of the conclusions in our paper. We suggest that the reader listen to the samples in conjunction with reading the paper. Okay, so I'm not going to read the paper, so sorry. All utterances were unseen in training. So, this is a complicated thing. The idea is that you could record uninflected, real human speech, not synthesis, uninflected, and that the prosody training, I think, I'm gathering, the prosody training would then inflect it appropriately. Does that make sense? What I just said?
I think this is all text to speech. So it's
not because it says this is a promising result as it paves the way for voice interaction designers to use their own voice to customize speech synthesis. I misunderstood. So you would train it with the prosody information.
Right. It would use AI to say, okay, this is how they talk.
So here we go. Here's another one. This is with without prosody and so first of all, this is a normal human giving the prosody reference to the AI.
I've swallowed a pollywog.
That's a real person.
It says unseen American speaker. That is not an American accent. I'm sorry.
What is happening?
Okay, she swallowed a pollywog. Did you hear? Okay, that's a real human. This is the speech synthesis without any reference.
I've swallowed a pollywog.
It's not bad, but it's not as good as this.
I've swallowed a pollywog.
That's amazing.
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
It's not as good as the human.
I've swallowed a pollywog.
I think it must have been the American must have been trying to replicate British speech.
Who says I've swallowed a pollywog anyway?
The last two were labeled as British.
Yeah, I think that's an error. That's just an error in the text. Okay. So here's the text that they have to synthesize. United Airlines 563 from Los Angeles to New Orleans has landed. The robot will read that. But they're going to, at inference time, select or modify the combination weights for the tokens, allowing us to force Tacotron to use a specific speaking style without needing training from a human.
Okay, yeah,
Let's try a few of these.
United Airlines 563 from Los Angeles to New Orleans has landed.
She sounds a little put out.
Yeah.
United Airlines 563 from Los Angeles to New Orleans has landed.
I like that. There's a lot of mystery.
Now, I just want to point out that they're applying something like, weird or angry or lively to this, and that's the interpretation. This is all generated by a computer without a human reference at all.
That last one was the Agatha Christie filter or something.
Yes.
United Airlines 563 from Los Angeles to New Orleans has landed.
What's the... Okay, more. This is fun. I don't know about you, Matt.
United Airlines 563 from Los Angeles to New Orleans has landed.
I don't want to hear that coming through the airport speaker. That's just because it sounds human.
This person has this same gravelly voice the whole time, which is really interesting. Did they just that
must be part of the programming, right? This is not the prosody part. This is the voice part. So they now have Tacotron's got a gravelly voice.
Okay.
Tacotron's a smoker, heavy smoker.
United Airlines 563 from Los Angeles to New Orleans has landed.
The Queen is apparently manning the speaker system. How does this work? Oh, God. Okay, well, I don't know what to make out of this. I just wanted to play a bunch of funny samples.
It all falls into the category of pretty soon we won't be able to tell they're machines doing it. And the fake news industry is going to go audio and visual.
Just so we are clear here, Tacotron, unrelated to Taco Truck, Tacotron is an AI system that uses neural networks trained to mimic human speech. So it is completely computer generated. I think it is kind of amazing.
I do too.
But maybe that's where the gravel comes from, Stacey, is that, you know those weird neural network dream images? That's the
you think that's
oral
the gravel?
Equivalent of gravel, right? Dream images.
Maybe. Although all the others, maybe, or a British accent is the oral equivalent.
Yeah, maybe that's it. Yeah, because we don't know what they trained it with. So the problem they were trying to solve is that Tacotron sounds human, but the inflections sound a little mechanical. And frankly, I'm with you, Stacey. I think there's going to be a law that says you can't make it too human because that's not good. You could impersonate. I mean, they could make it sound like me. And the thing is, imagine what could happen if they took the Tacotron and did the voice and made it sound like my voice, trained it with, I don't know where they'd get 20,000 samples of my voice, but trained it with 20,000 samples of my voice. And then did he get a human to go through my different speech patterns and say, that's Leo angry, that's Leo lively, that's Leo sad. And then they could apply that to the text. I think
they wouldn't need a human. It's unsuper. I mean, isn't it?
The prosody is, well, oh, you're right. So we gave you two examples. One trained by a human from a human reference and one without reference. And the one without reference was the Pollywog. That was the kind of weird one. But the one with reference was kind of surprisingly good. I think this is fascinating. And I think you're right, Stacey. It's a little troubling.
It has the potential to be troubling. Hold on. Techno panic.
But think about it. Remember, now I don't know how genuine this was, but remember it went around last year that there was that you would get a call from a recording voice that the only purpose of the recording was to get you to say yes, and then they would.
Oh wait, would it sign you up for long distance service?
Yeah, it was like, am I talking to somebody right now? And you say yes, and then they'd hang up and they'd record the yes. And then they would sign you up for stuff.
And that was the proof
like
that you agreed
the
to
long distance company called I Don't Care from back in the day.
Yeah. But who needs that if you've got Tacotron 2 and prosody? Right. Now with prosody. Am I saying that right?
Could be prosody because it's prose, right?
You went to Harvard. What do you think? He says I'm saying it right?
That's what Harvard says.
Harvard.
Here's what Google.
Prosody.
That's Google.
Prosody.
Prosody. Prosody.
Because it's prose, right? It's from prose is the root word. Prosody is the pattern of rhythm and sound used in poetry.
Yeah. You know,
prosody.
Back in the day, we at every time we talked about legal issues on this show and other shows, we'd talk about The Good Wife because it was so relevant.
Right.
Now the follow-on to that is an even better show called The Good Fight.
You watched that?
And the most recent episode had this technology where a lawyer tried to trick them into doing something by using a faked voice and all this kind of stuff. They are so relevant. It's unbelievable. And they're dead on to what's happening. Like, you know, something happens and then 2 weeks later they got a show.
Yeah.
That deals with
like it's ripped from the tech headlines.
Ripped from the tech headlines.
It's and there's a lot of tech in it too. So it's really fascinating. They have like what is it like? They've got some fake Google company that they've it's really good. It's really, really good.
So it's the easiest thing in the world. I mean, that we talk about faking photographs, but faking a voice with this kind of thing would be easy.
Yeah.
So I guess just as we do not trust photographs anymore, don't trust voice anymore.
Yeah, definitely not.
And soon we will not be trusting video.
Yeah, that's the hardest one, though.
Yeah.
I mean, even if you watched those, what were they called? The pornos with somebody else's face on it.
Oh, right. Yeah.
The fakes. That was hard to do, and it was hard to do well, and they didn't look that real.
They couldn't even get Superman's mustache removed properly.
Exactly.
They will get there.
They'll get there. They'll get there, no question.
But yes.
Deep fakes, that's what it was called.
Yeah.
And you had to pick you had to match the faces pretty closely, and it was imperfect.
Yeah. But it will become perfect. I mean, there's no doubt. This is the thing that, when there's specific information about progress in this realm, that doesn't freak me out more than the certainty that it's only a matter of time before all this stuff is perfected. Voice, video, it all will be perfected.
It's only a matter of when.
We have to adjust.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Although, think about what that means for biometrics. There's some interesting, what can you do from
a voice?
Well, presumably you can. It's just how accurate will it be? How accurate can you make these? And what are the ways to hack these neural networks? So like if you replace, a pixel on the face, or if you use if you're using a picture, or if you put weird makeup on so surveillance can't understand who you are, there are ways to go against these systems. It's just we've got to figure what those are.
I was really shocked. My mom, I don't know, I guess I shouldn't say which, I won't say the name because I don't want to give out too much information about my mom, but uses an online brokerage. And one of the ways of authenticating was your voice. And I told her, don't do that. Because that just does not seem like a good idea. Not that I could sound like my mom, but it feels like that's not a secure, even now I don't think that's a very secure thing to do. Facebook is being investigated by the FTC. There was some question about Facebook had a consent decree, right, in 2011,
right,
with the FTC, and there was some question whether this Cambridge Analytica data release violated that consent decree. FTC has now hasn't said whether it's wait a minute, let me see. They hadn't said, but now it's confirmed on Monday that the FTC is investigating Facebook's data practices, and even though they wouldn't confirm it last week, they have now confirmed it. And by the way, it's a private, non-public investigation. The penalty of the consent decree is $40,000 per violation,
which means per user.
50 million times $40,000 is how much? I can't even go that high. That's a lot of money.
That's a lot of money. But it's not going to happen. So here's a dark and cynical question.
It's like a petabillion.
Yeah.
What
right.
What is it? It's a big number.
Yeah. They're going to have to take a check.
Chat room, 50 million times $40,000. What is that? How much money? Yeah, can you take a check?
The chat room stopped because everybody's like working on it. But here's a question for you that makes me really nervous. Are congressional investigators going to be pulling their punches? This is a, quote, non-public investigation. Already they're going soft on Facebook before they even begun. They're making it non-public. Are they going to go soft on them because they know that Facebook can just, with a little bit of lines of code, make sure they never get elected? They have that power.
Huge power.
Huge power.
And conversely, with a little bit of lines of code, maybe make Zuck the president.
Yeah, absolutely. Although, why would he want less power than he has now?
Wasn't this on House of Cards many years ago?
Yeah.
Was that a subplot?
It feels like it.
Yeah.
$2 trillion.
Oh, that's not that.
You're gonna have to make payments.
You could fund 2 wars in Iraq for that.
That's right. That's right.
$2 trillion. That'll really help go a long way towards settling the deficit.
Yeah. I have the feeling that they're going to get a slap on the wrist and it'll be business as usual.
It ain't going to be a $2 trillion fine. I can assure you.
Yeah.
Maybe we could get so maybe we'll get something like GDPR here because Facebook's going to, because a lot of tech companies already have to work towards those goals anyway and build those systems. Maybe we'll see them acquiesce to something like that here in the U.S.
They might lead the way. Zuck is going to testify April 12th, by the way. For
That's my birthday.
Congress. Happy birthday. It's your birthday gift from Facebook. Mark Zuckerberg.
I can find out exactly what they're doing or just watch him get yelled at.
So here's what's happening in Menlo Park. They're coaching Zuck on how to seem like a normal human. Because his inclination would be to answer everything just like, he's like Data from Star Trek. And
it worked with the Taco Tron too, Mark. Exactly. You should try prosody.
So they're coaching him on how
to with prosody
express feelings and all that
kind of stuff. Sorry. I didn't mean to do it.
Some of this is going to be great for the screenshot.
Are you yawning? My great humor and made you yawn?
No.
I'm doing shtick here.
No, I have a migraine. I'm sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry. Does the yawn help?
It's just sort of, actually.
Can I get you a cup of Botox?
I was going to get a cup of coffee in a minute, but I did find out that I have a package downstairs. So their next ad read, I am going to show you the Nest Doorbell. Da, da,
nice.
da.
Here is the work in progress.
Here we go. See this? See what I'm saying?
The more of your data I gather, the more I understand what it means to be human, says Mark. I'm sorry. We shouldn't pile on Mark because, frankly, everybody's doing it. Everybody's doing it.
That is not a good excuse. If everyone jumps off a bridge.
Yes, Mom.
He'll be fine.
Well, and I think his perspective in life has probably changed some over time. Now that he has a kid.
Right. Now that he eats food that he didn't kill.
You know all those YouTube videos we saw in the World Series? Get ready. The NBA Finals. Same thing. Could be play buttons on Shaq's butt. I don't know. Is Shaq even in it? I don't know. Does he even play anymore? I don't even know. I'm already without outdated basketball reference. By the way, if you do feel sympathy for Mr. Z, you're not alone. Tim Berners-Lee, the creator of the World Wide Web, says, I can imagine Mark Zuckerberg is devastated that his creation has been abused and misused. Some days,
he's just sad because the web is broken.
He does. He says, some days I have the same feeling. Hashtag
this
just
is
saying.
Like, not a humble brag, it's humble empathy. What is that?
Humble empathy. Yeah, I invented something massive that everybody uses, and, I've lost control of it too, Mark. I know how you feel.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's a humble brag. You're right. Yeah. You nailed it. It's a humble brag. Oh, my God, Tim. I am excited about this. There is a great sci-fi novel out of China that you, Mr. John Slanina, got me to read called The Three-Body Problem, right? Amazon is earmarking $1 billion to make The Three-Body Problem into a blockbuster sci-fi series. It's a trilogy.
I've read this too. Yes.
Yes. It's a fascinating book. And it will it'll be better than Game of Thrones. I could see why Amazon wants to put $1 billion towards this. This comes from the Financial Times. But $1 billion is not to make it. $1 billion is to acquire the rights to it.
Dear.
Wow.
Dan, I'm going to write me a novel.
I'm gonna write one called The Four-Body Problem. I should get $1.25 billion for that.
Here is
so what are the rights to other public pick something else popular? Game of Thrones. How much did George R. Martin get?
That's a lot of Greek fisherman hats. Wow. Here's a picture of the author of The Three-Body Problem, Liu Qixin.
Soon he'll
next
be
to a robot
his
on a toilet. I don't know why he chose this as his publicity photo, but there is a mechanical man sitting on a toilet next to him. I'm puzzled. I'm sure it means something. I didn't finish it. Does this show up in the book, John? No.
Just one of the bodies is doing that.
You know what? If they spent $1 billion to the rights, making this could cost $1 billion, right, Stacey? I mean, this has Egypt in it. It has other worlds. It has. I mean, this thing is amazing.
There is a lot happening there. So yeah, I'm trying to find the rights for other things, and I'm not. My Googling skills are impaired.
Well,
they're not so good.
You're impaired right now. Go get some coffee. I'm going to do an ad.
I'm just going to sit here staring into space.
Yeah.
Okay. I'll be back.
She'll be back, ladies and gentlemen. So will we, with the thrilling, gripping conclusion of This Week in Google. But first, a word from our sponsor. And I love this sponsor. Let me tell you, Rocket Mortgage. Look, if you are buying a house, you know that most people, unlike Zuck, are not writing a check for the house. You're going to be getting the home loan, right? And I got to tell you, if you've done this before, you'll remember it is not a fun process. You got to get all dressed up, go to the bank, say, please, may I have a large amount of money? And the bank, they're nice about it. They'll say, well, of course. But first, here's a 20-page application, and we'll be in touch. So you fill the thing out, you go home, then they call you or they send you an email or usually they send a Pony Express messenger because it's really stuck in the 18th century here. And they say, well, we need this, this, and this. Can you fax it to us? Okay. Let me find a fax machine. And then let me find the pay stubs for 2012 or the bank statements from 2011 or whatever it is. And the last time I bought a house, it wasn't even the end of it. It just took 2 months. This was back in 2011. It took 2 months. They kept it coming back for more and more. We were on vacation. We had to call Lisa's sister, Debbie, to say, could you fax them some stuff? Fortunately, we have a fax machine for some reason in the office. I don't know what normal people do. Go down to the Kinko's. You know what? Here's what normal people do. They don't do it. They don't go there anymore. They go to Rocket Mortgage from Quicken Loans. Quicken Loans, the #1 lender in the country, #1 in customer satisfaction, year after year after year, according to J.D. Power. And they have decided to make this a modern process. They call it Rocket Mortgage. Quicken Loans to the rescue. Rocket Mortgage makes it easy. They give you the confidence you need when buying a home, or I should say refinancing. As interest rates go up, this is also an interesting thing you might want to do. You can understand every step of the way because it's very simple. You do this on your phone or your laptop or your tablet. Do it. Let's say you're at an open house. Let's say you say, I want to buy this house. This is unheard of. This never would have happened a couple of years ago. You open your phone up. You go to rocketmortgage.com/twig. You answer some simple questions. You don't even have to look stuff up. You know, name, address, birth date, that kind of thing. They have relationships with all the financial institutions. So if you give permission, they can go out and get all that stuff so you don't have to. Then they crunch the numbers, and based on income, assets, and credit, they offer you the home loans for which you qualify. You choose the rate, the term, the down payment. You find the run that's right for you. You say, yeah, let's do it. Rocket Mortgage says you're approved. And you're done. And that took minutes. Minutes. Like 8 minutes. Like you could be at the open house still and show the realtor, I'm approved, we want to make an offer. That's power. Rocket Mortgage from Quicken Loans. Apply simply, understand fully, and mortgage confidently. All you have to do is go to rocketmortgage.com/twig. Equal housing lender licensed in all 50 states at mlsconsumeraccess.org, number 3030. Rocket Mortgage by Quicken Loans. All you have to remember, actually, you know what you could do? Do it right now. Just sign up. You don't have to go through the whole process. Just get the account so that you're ready when that time comes. Rocketmortgage.com/twig. Twig, and we thank Quicken Loans so much for their support.
Rocket Mortgage
reminds
me of Starbucks Order and Pay, because
what's Starbucks Order and
Pay?
So
Starbucks has an app. You give it your financial information, i.e. your credit card, so it automatically reloads.
Oh yeah, it's just like that.
You go in and they have literally a menu of every item, because
when you need coffee, you don't have time to waste.
Well, every time I never, even if I'm sitting working in Starbucks, I will use it.
Really?
Yeah.
So you have to get up?
I do have to get off to walk over and pick up my coffee, but like I walk into Starbucks in Silicon Valley, and it's like, there's like 40 people in line for Starbucks, and I mumble suckers as I go to my drink. It's sitting there.
That's right. You skip the line.
You skip the line.
Very big.
And Rocket Mortgage is just like that.
Yep.
You're the one who gets your coffee while everybody's looking at you going, why is his coffee ready? He just walked in the door.
Did you... Oh, Stacey's not back.
It's Invisible Stacey.
The Invisible Stacey?
Yeah.
Oh, poor Oh, look, she's got a Pilates reformer in back there. I never saw that before.
Oh, here she comes.
Here she comes with a package and coffee. She doesn't know hear us because she doesn't have the headphones on. She doesn't know I'm singing her in. She's your ideal.
No, she's closing the door.
The dreams of millions of girls who think they're pretty will come true in Austin City. I didn't know you were a Pilatite.
Oh, yeah.
I see a reformer behind you.
Yeah, I had to move it in from the garage because it's starting to get hot again.
I love Pilates.
Me too. I've done it for over a decade.
Wow.
I almost became a teacher, but that's really expensive, and I don't actually want to teach people.
No. We have a reformer at home. We also have, which I don't use, but Lisa's very good at, the chair, where you do the...
I love the chair.
That's hard. Well, next time you're in town, come on over. We'll have a little Pilates session. You can do you can do the chair. Lisa do the reformer. It'll be so much fun. I was holding this story just for you, Stacey.
Oh, thank you. So sorry, y'all.
No. Amnesty International, 77-page report, 16-month investigation talking about abuse of women on Twitter.
Yeah.
Actually, all you'd have to really do is go on Twitter and you could find a little bit of that. #toxic Twitter. The issue is there an issue? Is this free speech, or is Twitter failing to implement its own policies to protect women on the platform? And Amnesty International says Twitter has not taken sufficient steps to effectively and adequately address reports of violence and abuse, and most importantly, implement its own guidelines.
I'll let Stacey go first because I have a prepared statement.
I kind of want to hear your prepared statement, and then I can respond to that.
Okay, so okay.
By the way, it's not just women. The research highlights the experiences of violence, abuse against women of color, women from ethnic or religious minorities, lesbian, bisexual, transgender women, non-binary individuals, women with disabilities. Everybody basically except white men. And they're not having a great time on Twitter sometimes either.
Yeah. So first of all, I love Twitter. I use it heavily. And they do have problems. Their problems, and I've said this on this show before, stem from the fact that Twitter won't give up control of moderation.
Right.
On every other social network, you can delete other people's comments when they invade your conversation with trolling and harassment and hate speech. Whereas on Twitter, you have to go to Twitter itself and beg them and plead with them to take action, and they'll go, nah, doesn't really, and it's up to them. And they have to sit there and go after every needle in every haystack. Whereas on other social networks, you can just go and delete the offending comments, and it has a big effect on knocking down people. The trolls gravitate to Twitter for this reason.
Twitter specifically is not giving the information Amnesty International wants about its reporting process and content moderation. They're not even telling them how it works, let alone making it work.
It's another black box. They're once again using ignorance to their advantage. They claim free speech, but really this is a huge problem. And I think it's a big problem for the tech press, because the tech press is the most vocal champion of Twitter. And
it's probably half of the users of Twitter.
The press in general. I mean, other outside the tech press, journalists, political journalists are heavy users of Twitter as well. But the tech press itself is the one who's always going, yeah, Twitter's, heavy users of it. And you were talking on Twit the other day. I think somebody brought up the fact that I was championing Google Plus.
You're saying this Facebook thing is a real opportunity for Google Plus, and I said, well, good, we're getting Mike on Twig today.
That's right. And so the in fact, what I did was I try to do what you do on this show all the time, is start a conversation with smart people so we can all learn something.
I love that.
And so I created a post on Google Plus saying, hey, is the Facebook's problems create an opportunity for Google Plus to have a resurgence? And then I went to Twitter and I said, hey, everybody, go talk on Google Plus about this conversation, because we're having this big conversation. And that's what I did. And people on Google Plus are like, we don't want the Facebook people. We got a good thing going here. Please don't all
Actually, Google Plus has been much better since everybody left it.
Yeah, exactly. And so this is the thing. So the way the tech press, and I understand why they do it, but the tech press doesn't actually use arguments to dismiss Google Plus. They use snide, everybody knows that Google Plus is nothing. Right? So probably this audience for Twig, probably 25% of your audience uses Google Plus to great effect. There are great conversations. There are lots of problems on Google Plus, lots of problems on Twitter, lots of problems on Facebook. But what I was trying to convince the Twitterati to embrace is the reason to use the reason to advocate a social network is not because everybody's there. That's why we have Facebook. Everybody's on Facebook because everybody's on Facebook. And nobody's on Google Plus because nobody's on Google Plus. Those are not good reasons. In fact, you talk about moderation. Google Plus has a new feature that's barely been mentioned. This is the greatest feature that ever existed on any social network in history. With a single click, you can block, report, and delete a comment. One click, all three of those things happen. And then on the way out, it says, do you also want to delete all their recent comments? And you say yes. And it's like wow, that's nice. I might go obliterates the trolls and the haters, and it just eliminates all of that.
There's been a spam problem lately, though, on Google Plus.
But this is the thing. You have to use that feature. You use it a little bit, and pretty soon it'll
go away.
Yeah.
All right.
And so, again, I'm not saying that Google Plus is the greatest thing in the world. I actually use Twitter more than Google Plus, so I am also a hypocrite. But let's be clear about why we recommend, people talk about Mastodon, right? Mastodon is like this wonderful place we're all supposed to go. Okay, if you're going to diss Google Plus for not having users, Google Plus has way more users than Mastodon.
I know, that's true.
And way more engagement, way more activity.
I recently deleted all my circles because I was getting Google Plus circles in my contact list.
Yeah.
But I don't think you need circles, really, right?
They've kind of moved away from circles.
Yeah. Go ahead, Stacey.
Well, that was creepy weird. Yeah. Okay, so back to Twitter. I'm going to say my thought on all of this is it's the same. They've created essentially what is a public square. Yeah. And anytime people who are not the majority go into a public square, there is a risk. I mean, you see people being catcalled and that sort of thing. Twitter's problem is that no one can step up, much like Mike said, no one can step up and say, hey, yeah, we don't do that here. We don't treat people like that way here. So there's no moderation. And then Twitter itself doesn't have, if something gets really egregious, you can call the cops. And Twitter, you can't call the cops on Twitter. You don't even know really what the rules are that they're going to follow. And when they follow the rules, they do it unevenly. And it's disturbing. And people complain because they're like, it's the public square. I can be as much of a jerk as I want in the public square. But that's not actually true, because we have rules and then we have society morals. And basically, one can't be enforced on Twitter, and one, Twitter doesn't want to take the role of enforcing on. So that's the problem. So yeah, I say Twitter's a hostile place for lots of people.
Yeah.
I reported like 20, 25 user accounts on Twitter where they're using my profile picture and my name, and said and Twitter said, no, they don't violate our terms of service. Those are all parody accounts, even though many of them had never posted anything. And
you have parody accounts too?
I don't know how many it is, but it's a lot. If you search for my name, you'll get lots of accounts.
It's unfortunate because it's really because of Twit.
Well, probably, but the point is, what's the point of verification if it doesn't protect you from people copying your name and your face? And so anyway, so it's just they have serious problems that they don't address, and the way to address those problems is give users more control, I think, and I think that would help a lot.
This is why I can't quit Twitter. Brianna Wu's tweet. Mm-hmm. Really impressed with the graphics in Far Cry 5. The fictional game about white supremacists taking over America feels so realistic. Great job, Ubisoft. But of course, those are images from Charlottesville.
Sad.
I love you, Brianna. Wow. She's, by the way, big interview in the New York Times.
Oh, really?
With Brianna Wu and how
Really?
she's changing the Democratic playbook. That's going to be exciting.
I'd love to
Brianna
see
Wu.
a lot more nerds running for
Yeah.
office. Not me. I'm not doing it.
Nope.
I got a good thing going.
If you think Twitter's bad, try running for office.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah. Ooh.
Exactly. But Twitter is the world. It's the greatest place in the world for snark and
Yeah.
It's actually
sarcasm.
It's so I know, but I love Twitter. I follow the nerdiest people.
Yeah.
If you are not following like the Real Scientist account, I don't know what you're doing with your life, but you can learn so much. And I find a lot of good conversations. And I think, I don't know. I mean, every now and then I get somebody who's like a jerk to me, but I just delete them and move on.
I really probably should just unfollow everybody and recreate my Twitter list. But I did find a life hack that works very well for me. I use Tweetdeck, which is so far still a very good service, even though Twitter completely ignores it. Yeah. Tweetdeck.twitter.com. And what I have learned is that, and this is actually, I wish a tool Twitter would give you, but they only give it to you in Tweetdeck. You can exclude retweets.
Yeah.
So a lot of the problem on Twitter is just this kind of like 3/4 of the traffic on the Twitter feed is people retweeting. And often, somebody pointed this out, and I think it's really true. Retweets are the most obnoxious content, the stuff that got people to go retweet, the most outraged, the most, it's this. So sometimes retweets are good, but now my home stream, and by the way, the other thing TweetDeck does, which is nice, is it's live.
Yeah.
So it continues to scroll. Right. My home stream is retweet free, and that has really slowed it down, and B, focused it. So the next thing is, and I keep saying this, I'm going to just sit here and watch it, and when I see something, a person I don't want to follow in that feed because I followed them, but I shouldn't have, I'm gonna start unfollowing. But I haven't done that.
What I'd love to do. So I have two main accounts. I have one account that I use for following, and I have another account that I use for just people to follow me, basically, and for me to engage.
You mentioned this system before,
and I have multiple. That gets really complicated. But basically, I'm very careful about who I follow because I don't want a fire hose of nonsense. And some of the people I want to follow post a lot of nonsense, and so.
That's the trick, right?
One of the things that's great about
nobody's consistently interesting.
I mean, one of the great things about Twitter is that you can say, okay, I want to follow all these people, but mute the following words. I want to mute stuff about politics. I want to mute stuff about sports, in my case, and just get tech. Right. And that's a beautiful thing. Unfortunately, I don't think that conveys over to the third-party clients. I use TwitterBot or one of those others that's like TweetDeck, and it doesn't. Those mute filters don't apply on the third-party clients. I'd love for them to apply.
So I've got kind of a mix.
You need a better API integration then.
Exactly.
Or maybe Twitter needs a better API.
If it weren't copyrighted.
Exactly.
That may be an end game for me is to write my own Twitter client,
Yeah.
I only need 4 more years of computer science classes and I'll be ready.
You could call it Twitter. Oh, wait.
Oh, no.
Sorry.
That's a sore spot.
I know.
All right, now I have a migraine.
I no longer feel bad about yawning. I am no longer the jerk on this show.
He's going to go with you to get Botox.
No, I need Botox. All right, Stacey Higginbotham, your thing of the week, please.
Oh, we're already there.
Yes, I want to let you off the hook.
Oh, no, I'm sorry. I'm fine. I just took a drug.
I know. Oh, well, if you want to keep going. But I think we should. I think this is an hour 41 in. We're done. We're done.
Oh, man, the time has flown by.
I know. What is it? What's in the box, Stacey?
A lot of stuff. Hold on.
This just came? You just got this?
This just arrived. Yes. Okay.
This is just in.
This literally just in. Okay. Sorry about the camera.
I'm so excited about this.
This is the Nest Video Doorbell.
Oh, so everybody was talking about this. Nest just released this.
Yeah, this just came out. Let's do a little informal unboxing here. I have to unbox higher than my head.
I have to say, it's cute looking, and it follows the Nest aesthetics. All of the Nest stuff kind of looks...
The Nesthetics.
Aesthetics.
Oh, nice.
I don't know. Do I want shiny piano black on my front door?
Okay, well, hold on.
I'm sure they have other colors.
Ooh, so sparkly.
Really shiny.
It's a little.
Oh, that is really nice, though. Look how small that is.
Yeah. Okay, so it's got so you mount it. You could mount it and replace your existing doorbell. Okay.
Yeah. So sorry, I'm getting.
No,
I'm still working.
This is $229.
Okay, I hate this. This is my personal pet peeve. They're like, go to the app to install to figure out the installations instructions.
Yeah, you have to. Yeah, I see that more and more. Right. We don't want to waste. We don't want to kill trees. We're just gonna get the app.
I just want to see. Okay, so I'm trying to figure out.
But you're gonna have to get the app anyway.
I know, but
mashed potato says it looks like a big dash button. That's actually pretty apt.
It does kind of look like. Okay, so
Press
here's
the button. The doorbell doesn't ring.
The mounting hardware is metal, you guys. This is not plastic. This is metal. That's actually really nice.
Yeah, that is. Yeah.
Okay, so this is the thing that's going to mount to your door, and it's going to slide in there. Here are my wiring. I'm thinking this is for my doorbell.
Oh, look, there's a wire harness. Good Lord.
Well, no, because this doesn't fit on the back here, which, like the Ring, they do a bypass. Yeah, and this is a sticker. So this is going to go inside my actual doorbell. The bell.
No, the Ring doesn't do a bypass. The Ring wires itself as a regular doorbell.
The Ring Pro actually.
Oh, the new one does. Okay.
The new one wires itself as a bypass because otherwise, when you hit the motion, if the motion sensor goes off, it would actually.
Ding dong.
Yeah.
I don't have that problem at home. My doorbell does not ring when somebody walks up to the doorbell. They have to press the button. So I don't know what Ring did. But we should mention Ring's a sponsor just as long as we're saying the word Ring.
Oh, yes.
Yes.
Okay. Oh, yeah. And actually, this week they're a sponsor on my show, too. So I am also sponsored by Ring.
Just to show our editorial excellence.
Okay. So
we are going to be completely objective about this horrific competitor to our fine sponsor.
Well, we are. So I can't unscrew it because I don't have. Do I have my little mini screwdriver? Hold on.
So they're going to work with the Nest has said because they're Google. They're going to work with the Google Home Mini, and this is interesting. Not only will your doorbell ring, the Home Mini will say someone's at the door. I'm sorry, someone's at the door.
But I think it's also going to work with the Chromecast.
Can I have Gollum say someone's at? Oh, you mean like show up on your TV? Like you'll see a picture on your TV all of a sudden of somebody at the door?
I think that was the thought process.
That's cool. I like
because you could do it already on Chromecast with your.
Right, but you have to call it up. You can't do it. You have to say Google Home, show who's at the door on my Nest. On my living room TV, and by that time they've gone away. So this would be if it's a little more automatic. 24/7 streaming, continuous video recording. That's something Nest does with their cameras, and that's something that others do not do. 4:3 HD video showing people from head to toe. That's just what we call in the business a wide-angle lens.
Wow, it's jargon.
Yeah, jargon. HDR video shows sharp details even in bright and dark areas. Person, motion, and sound alerts to detect visitors, can recognize family and friends and send a special alert. That's kind of cool. That's like that lighthouse. So it has face rec. But my experience with the Nest's IQ, its face recognition, it never learned anybody's face ever. That's the one that saw the Mylar balloons.
And that's probably the same technology.
It's exactly the same. Pre-recorded quick responses. Oh, wait a minute. What is that? Pre-recorded quick response. Go away!
Oh. Yes, that's what that is.
I just ate a Pollywog.
I think it was swallowed a Pollywog. I just swallowed a Pollywog. Okay, I'll add that if I can.
I'd answer the door, but I just swallowed a Pollywog.
Oh my God!
All right. Well, will you know what? Next week, will that be enough time for you to review this?
Oh yes.
All right.
Oh look, I'm adding it to my app using the scan the code function.
Yeah, I like that. On the Nest cams, do that too. They have a barcode on the back, and you can just add it very easily. Although
it doesn't see it very well because the barcode is not the best.
Visible. Yeah.
Maybe it's on the box.
The only thing I don't like about that is if you want to change the Wi-Fi or whatever, you've got to go outside, unscrew the doorbell, rescan it. It's a bit of a process to do that, but I guess that's probably a good thing.
With my Ring Video doorbell, what I do, I sponsor. I don't use the screws. I just basically slide in and I use tape on the top so it doesn't slip out.
That's a great idea.
And then I just rip off the tape.
And nobody's ever stolen it?
No, never.
What would anybody do with it anyway? Let's steal this guy's doorbell. That is a pathetic kind of vandalism.
When I was living in Mexico, for some reason, everywhere I live, people ignore it completely, except in Mexico. Everyone who came to the doorbell, and lots of people come to your house in Mexico because they're selling water. They're doing
that's where you buy it.
And every single person to a person was just like looking at it, and they're like, "Wow, that's fascinating." And I have a lot of video of Mexicans like
looking at
fascinated
your doorbell.
by my doorbell. Yeah,
wow.
But nobody's ever stolen it.
Maybe we don't need a wall. We could just put doorbells along the border.
Exactly.
Oh.
And they can ring if they want to. If they want to immigrate, they can ring the bell. And then Trump
I don't know if that was racist.
That was
to
totally
say or
sorry.
not.
I am like in setup mode. I'm like,
you're
I like
totally in
how you do
IoT. This is Stacey on IoT mode. Is what this is.
This is me. This is me in real life. Sorry, you guys.
I know. You know what? That's why we love you, Stacey. You're a complete and utter nerd. Just a nerd.
Like that's true. So, oh wow, this says it's going to require 45 minutes and require a drill. Huh. I'm excited. Okay,
it's going to be a longer.
I also got. So I will do this for you guys. So next week we'll be able to talk about this, and then
you know what you could do, Stacey? You don't have to put it on your front door. You could put it on your office door.
So I can't actually put anything. Well, I'm going to set it up on my. Oh, this is my issue. This is a personal issue though. Not everyone has that. But I've got the new. I'll show you this.
Uh-oh.
I also got
more, but wait, there's more. It's a keypad. I didn't know they had this.
The Yale Lock. Oh man, we've been waiting for this for like 2 years.
I didn't even know about this one.
Yeah, this is their Yale Lock that's going to, I think, work with the doorbell.
Most locks are made for keys, says Nest. This lock is made for people. Actually, technically, it's made for people with fingers. Technically,
yes.
Comes in nickel. Oil-rubbed bronze.
Oh, I have satin nickel.
Or polished brass.
Yeah, the backside looks like this, just so you know.
So
it's not as.
This is like the Schlage, though, and other locks, right? It's a deadbolt that you can open remotely.
Yes.
Does it also unlock with Bluetooth proximity?
Oh, I hope not, because that's, I think, dangerous. I don't like that.
Key-free connected, so it will unlock with the pad or Bluetooth. You can control it from your Nest.
Wait a minute. Okay, this is the deal breaker, kids. And if your lock loses power, you can quickly charge it with a 9-volt battery to unlock the door.
So that's actually in complaint, because that's actually a big complaint for the August guys. Because, and here's why, these things lose their battery power really quickly. And oftentimes they lose it in the dead of winter when it's super cold and you don't want to change it. So people just keep ignoring it.
I am not going to buy something that I have to unlock with a 9-volt.
And the batteries are inside the house.
One, in my pocket. Oh, honey, I can't get in. I'm going to go to the store and get a 9-volt battery. I'll be right back. This is ridiculous.
Well, this is why
non-starter.
I'm like, yeah. Okay.
Non-starter. Doesn't look like it has Bluetooth. It also works with their Nest Secure Alarm. Boy, from a company that had no products for like 5 years, like all they did was a thermostat. Suddenly, this is overwhelming. It's good they got rid of that guy, whatever it was. Was it Fidel?
Tony Fidel.
Was it Fidel that was slowing it down? Or it's good they put him in, got him out of Alphabet and put him in Google, I think is really what happened.
Yeah.
Holy cow. Thermostats, cameras, doorbells, alarm systems, locks, smoke and carbon monoxide alarm. All new products. Wow.
No. The smoke alarm came out under Tony.
Yeah, they took that off the market, though, because you could wave at it and disable it forever.
Well, and they brought all the security stuff out because originally no one knew what the smart home was going to be like. But the thing that people pay for is security.
Right.
So,
That's the number one. That and lights.
Yeah.
People actually, that's the third use case. So the number one use case has been security. The second is energy efficiency, and finally is automation and lights.
Well, but the thing is that if you compare the world of lights and how it's implemented, what people go through, and the world of security, like the Ring Video doorbell. Sorry to suck up to a sponsor here, and that's not my intention, but it just works. It just works.
I've never had to use a 9-volt battery to get it.
I see people struggling with their lights. They tell Echo.
That's the real problem with home automation. It's We all have kind of not good experiences. Well, just ask Stacey someday, or maybe ask her husband about the.
Yeah, you were wondering what she's on.
Blinds.
She's on IoT.
The window blinds. Just ask.
Oh, don't tell him. I set up an automation. Oh, I should have checked. I didn't check when I went out there. I set up one today, so it's going to finally be working, I think.
He's going to walk in the door, and it's go, da, 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 and the blinds go up and down and up and down and up and down.
Because I think at 4 o'clock today, they were supposed to go down. So if that happened.
Ooh, now.
I'm going to be out of the doghouse, which I have been in for 2 years.
That's a long time in the doghouse. Thank you.
Oh, it was our 16th wedding anniversary, so I had to do something special.
Oh, happy anniversary.
Thank you.
God, hard to believe one so young could have been married so long.
I turned 40 in what?
No, you do not.
I do.
The big 4-0 is when? When's your birthday? April? We know because it's the same
April
day.
12th.
Yes. That Mark Zuckerberg's testifying for Congress.
Yes.
In front of Congress. So wait a minute. We got make a note of this, Carson. April 12th. We got to do something for Stacey because that's the big 4-0 is a big one. That's a big one.
We'll have her blind sing happy birthday to
Connected coffin?
In Morse code.
When you get to my age, you laugh at those death jokes at 40. Ah, ha, ha. Yeah. 40?
Oh, to be 40 again.
Oh, to be so young. Mike Elgin, you got a tip for us besides using Google+? You know what? I'm going back to Google+, just because of that.
Yeah. Check it out.
Just because of that.
Just try the moderation. You'll be thrilled when you delete.
Well, I know. I've done that before. Yeah. But I don't need circles anymore, huh?
No circles. No, circles are over.
So you just go.
Use it. I use Google+.
Do you follow people still?
I use Google+ as a blog. It's like
I know
Tumblr.
you do.
And I post things, and then I engage with people in the conversation
I've
below.
been looking for somewhere to put my
I have Steve
pictures.
Jobs-like control over the whole post, right?
Wow.
I can delete people. I
might
it's a beautiful
do this.
thing. Yeah. You have total control over your own posts.
Is there an app?
They have apps, mobile apps, yeah.
There's no API, right?
No, there's no API. There's no third-party anything. This actually is a problem, but it's also a good thing as well.
That's how long it's been. I don't even... Is there an app for that?
Do you remember how to spell it?
Plus.
Yeah, and another good thing is it's integrated with Google Photos. So you can just grab your... I know you probably use Google Photos like everybody else. And you can just, from the app, you can just bring in photos from the Google Photos.
Why have I...
I tried to get everybody to use it,
I keep
and nobody listened to me.
No, but it's good. It's really good.
Yeah, it's a lovely
Kevin
thing.
Toffel's on there.
They have a great bread.
He spends a lot of time.
I follow the Art of Bread community.
It's a great community. Their craft beer one is a great one as well.
I will start following. It's really good. And there's not a lot. What's interesting, there's some politics, but it's not anywhere like
it's not
Facebook with politics.
But again,
look, Bill Gates and his bike. Okay, now how much would you pay?
Is that Bill Gates?
That's what it says.
Wow.
Bill Gates, this is from Vintage American Images.
Huh. I have never seen that photo.
I've never seen this. How many times have we seen photos of Bill Gates? But
yeah,
never
I thought
that
I saw
photo.
all of them. I saw him lounging seductively on the desk. I've seen all of those.
That's burned into my mind. Okay, what's your pick of the week?
Pick of the week, the Lenovo Mirage camera with Daydream. Okay, so this product was announced in January. It's a 3D video camera from Lenovo that costs $300.
Oh.
You can now pre-order it. It comes out in May, but you can pre-order it now on Amazon. And what's cool about this is basically a Google device. So the content that you record goes or stream, you do it through YouTube and Google Photos, which are fully supported by this product. So you take 3D 180-degree video, and then you can view it with your
Daydream.
With Daydream, you can use it with the VR 180 app.
YouTube, right? You can just do the 3D.
Pretty much anything that.
So it's a 360 degree, but it only has.
It's not 360. It's 180 basically.
180.
Yeah. So
and the two lenses give it depth.
It gives it It makes it 3D. So they call it a VR. It's not VR. It's 3D video.
Okay.
And
180 degree 3D video.
It has two 13 megapixel cameras in it basically, and you can live stream.
And they're fisheye.
And they're
so you get 180 degree field of view.
You can also take 3D pictures. Works with the Mirage Solo, which is coming out in May as well. Google Cardboard and all the usual suspects. But this is a very affordable, very portable. Goes in your pocket.
What is a 3D picture?
It's a 3D picture.
Like
it's
a
picture
viewfinder?
that if you view it through Google Cardboard or something.
See, I wouldn't see anything because I don't have 3D vision.
Yeah.
Oh, because you're old.
Because he's got a glass eye, I think.
Because you've got the LASIK, like it's one is the other.
You need a button that just like.
She wants a button with a
So anyway, this is a fantastic googly product that. What I love about it is it's unlike there's a lot.
Just because I can't see 3D doesn't mean I can't make 3D pictures for everyone else to
most
enjoy.
Of the 3D content.
But do you see the 3D if you're not wearing special glasses?
No.
What does it look like?
No, scroll up to that image of the birthday because that was sad.
It looks like two screens side by side.
Oh.
Yeah, you have to use special something. But what I love about
it really
is,
looks sad. Mom, poor mom, is not
That's what
really.
I'm like,
right.
Mom's in Tokyo right now, but she's working.
She's in the witness protection program.
She and Edward Snowden are in Russia together. But have some watermelon, Mom. Wow, that is really sad. You're right, Stacey. That's the saddest picture I have ever seen.
But what isn't sad is the price. Yeah.
Let's make a meme. Good Lord, I'm putting that on Google+. Okay, how much is it?
$300.
That's a good deal.
And it fits in your pocket. I'm not personally aware of any 3D video content creation tool that's that cheap or that small.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of refreshing.
I know 360 products, but this is...
But they're not that's cheap either. You can't get a good 360 product for $300, can you? Not really.
What is the Google Gear? I mean, the Samsung Gear. I think that's about $300. But
is it really?
Yeah, but I'm just this is to me though. This is just a 2D image.
It's two 2D images.
Two 2D images.
Yeah,
with some distance information, so people with normal eyesight would look at it and it would look like there was watermelon.
Yeah, it looks 3D, and you go, ooh, it's 3D. So if there's going to be 3D content, which there will be because we're all going to have augmented and virtual reality goggles and all kinds of things, these come on the market, in addition to computer-generated 3D content, we'll also have user-generated video 3D content. And if you want to make that kind of content, this device is probably one of the coolest and cheapest and easiest ways to do it.
And you've ordered this?
I have not ordered it yet. But I'm
going to wait till I see more 3D content on Google+.
Yeah.
And then I might.
So I found...
Go ahead.
Oh, go ahead.
Nope.
I was going to say, I found a number in case we missed Jeff's number because we didn't actually talk about the story, and I think...
Good. What's the number? Thank you.
5.5 gigabytes.
Oh, my God. Dun. What do I get?
Your entire... Actually, you get this... What's his name? Hold on, I'll find his name. You get Dylan Curran's entire Google history. So this guy...
What?
Why
would I want... What? Does he know about it?
I didn't even want my own history.
What he did is he went to get all the data that Google knows about you, and he downloaded it, and it was 5.5 gigabytes of data. He also did the same for Facebook.
For free?
He's not really offering it for free. He's showing you how to find out what Google knows about you. And this is actually a handy little story. If you're unfamiliar with this, I mean, I wander around.
The 5.5 is Google plus Facebook.
It is just Google.
Just Google. Wow.
Just Google data. His Facebook data is only 600 megabytes.
Try getting that data, similar data from Amazon. Good luck with that.
Yeah, and Google does let you delete it as well.
Yeah.
Just download it. Yeah.
Yep.
Yes, but the cool thing is it shows you all of your stuff. And the article's nice because it gives you links to everything that it's like, oh, here. Because I sometimes when I'm navigating various Google settings, I end up I don't even know where I end up. And I'm like, oh, now I'm doing my web search history. Now I'm doing my...
I have to say, Google does make this a lot easier than Facebook to get.
Yep.
Takeout.google.com. And this is Brad Fitzpatrick's project. He was a big advocate from very early on at Google that everything that Google knows about you, that Google stores, you should be able to get and delete. So this is all of it.
The highlights, if you go into your Google Takeout, the highlights are, number one, your own voice that when you spoke to Google Home.
That is so weird.
You can listen to your recordings. And the other one is your location history, which people are often stunned by the fact that Google knows every place you've ever been in the last 10 years or whatever. You can delete all that stuff, but it's fun to, I like to do it because I travel a lot and I say, oh, look, that's when we went to Morocco. You can see all this stuff and it correlates it with other events. And
what we should do is all compare. Dylan's was 5.5 gigs. Yeah. I'm betting mine's going to be bigger.
I think mine's going to be bigger than that as well. Yeah.
So you got Google Plus in there.
Just Gmail alone, I think I have, I don't know.
Yeah, I never delete anything on Gmail.
Yeah, I'm more than, I think I'm 60% of my 10 gigabytes of storage on.
Yeah.
And this was interesting. I didn't realize this. It talks about Google has information you deleted. So he talks about his Google Drive and includes files he explicitly deleted, including his resume, budget, and his PGP private key.
Oh, well, you should. Okay, now, if the guy's putting his private key on Google Drive, I got to have a little conversation with him because that was not a smart thing to do. Even if it's password protected, that's kind of not a good idea. That's why they call it private. But still, yeah. I deleted that. You shouldn't have that, Google.
Somebody has a Kickstarter. I'm not a cryptocurrency person, but like if you have Bitcoin, you have a, what do they call it when you have your key or your password or your username, whatever it's called. It's a set of numbers.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
your account number.
Okay. So this is it's a Kickstarter project where they will hammer that information into or you can hammer that information into a piece of metal, and then you bury it in the backyard. Along with the various bodies and so on that's buried back there. And then if you forget it, then you can get a shovel and go find it.
I know my number. My problem is I don't know my password. I know my number.
You should chisel that into it as well.
Oh, yeah. That's a good idea.
And then take a picture of it and put it on Google Drive.
Bury that. I wonder if Google knows my... You know what? I bet you Google knows my password.
I bet they do.
Stacey
That's a
Higginbotham
service right there.
With Kevin Toffel is a regular... on the fabulous Stacey on IoT podcast. You must listen. You must also subscribe to her great newsletter, StaceyOnIoT.com. She's at GigaStacey on Twitter if you want to add one sane person to your Twitter feed. Do you tweet?
She does.
Do you not see my tweets? I tweet all the time.
I see your tweets. Yeah.
I actually tweeted. This is why I like Twitter, is I tweeted about the computers I used growing up and how I feel old now. And I got so many responses from people about their first computers that I was like, oh.
That's always a good topic. What was your first computer?
We built our first computer, but this was actually our computers in school.
Such a nerd.
And I remember we used AMD chips, not Intel chips, because my dad had a big beef.
Yeah.
I don't remember why, but
AMD wasn't around when I was born.
It didn't exist.
No. But my first computer was an Atari 400. What was your first computer?
Commodore 64.
Yep. We're of that vintage.
Yeah, plugged into a black and white TV.
In my day, you could build your own computer, but all you'd get was something with a lot of switches on the front.
Yeah.
Thank you, Stacey. Thank you, Mike Elgin. It's always a pleasure to see you. Don't forget, there are still one more place. Go to Provence with Mike and Amira.
Yep.
Go to gastronomad.net and click on experiences, and you could be part of that amazing experience.
All I can promise is the greatest experience of your entire life.
Is that all?
That's it.
I want more.
That's it. Wow.
Can I get a Ring Video doorbell with that?
Sure. You can have my old one. Actually, no, you gave me one once.
Yeah, I did.
And I gave it to my son, and then I bought one.
Oh,
because I just...
What a dad.
Yeah.
You're a great dad. He is a great dad and a great granddad.
That's right.
Yeah.
Squishy face.
Squishy face. Princess squishy face to you.
That's right. That's right.
We do This Week in Google Wednesdays, 1:30 Pacific, 4:30 Eastern, 20:30 UTC. If you want to stop by and say hi, you can watch it on YouTube, on Ustream, on Twitch. And I mention those three because our Roku app is now officially deprecated. Roku changed the API. We did not update the app. We had paid Houdini 7 to do it initially. We decided, if you want to watch us live on Roku, you can do it. Just use the YouTube app or the Twitch app or the Ustream app and search for Twit. We're the same name on all of those. You can also do it on the web at twit.tv/live. And if you do any of that and you're in the watching live thing, you really ought to join us in the chat room at irc.twit.tv. Really fun way to participate with the show as we do it. We can also give you on-demand versions if you'd prefer. Download it and watch or listen at your own time and place. Just go to twit.tv/twig, twit.tv/twig, or subscribe in your favorite podcatcher. We're everywhere. Search for Twit. You can find all of our shows. Subscribe, and that way you'll get it exactly the minute it's available. Thank you so much for being here, and we will see you next time on This Week in Google.